What is up, Rotogrinders? Dean here, Dean78904. That is our daily fantasy handle. Hopefully we see that name somewhere atop a contest going down tonight. Hopefully you guys can't hear this rain going on in the background. If you do, I apologize. I'm going to try to mute it throughout the show. I'm in Florida right now, and it gets rainy every once in a while in Florida, so it's pouring pretty good. Hopefully it's not too obnoxious. If I'm not taking down a contest and y'all aren't taking down a contest in chat, hopefully it's Andre or it's Stevie. Stevie, I think you're coming at us from parts unknown. I figure you're like on the road or something like that for some NASCAR event. But you're at home doing some renovations, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been around a lot the last like 2.5 weeks, which is really weird because like the start of baseball season is like one of my favorite times of the year. So I'm like digging back in now and really ready to start baseball season. So yeah, man, I'm pumped. So you must be in South Florida because it's beautiful and way too hot in Central Florida.
Yeah, I mean, you know how Florida goes, and this is probably a lot of places too. Like it could be raining in the front yard and like sunny in the backyard. It's kind of weird, or wait 5 minutes and the weather's going to change, that kind of thing. So hopefully it's going to pass soon enough. Andre, how's our heat looking? We're here for the next hour and 20 minutes. We have 7 games, so we got time to kill. We can talk some nonsense. 15 more games, right, for Miami. We're going to do it.
We're going to do it. I'm not gonna lie. I do have the Heat losing in the NBA Finals, just as Golden State. But other than that, I think we're gonna go all the way for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if we beat the Warriors. I think the X factor is gonna be Victor Oladipo.
It's so funny. I'm gonna thread with my friends, and they're telling me the same thing, and I'm like, dude, Oladipo's not even playing. What are you talking about? He's not even in the rotation, and like you're on their side. You don't even know it, but like. Is this whole back and forth thing with me and I'm like, you guys just think Oladipo's good because he was good 5 years ago, but yeah. I hope he is a positive X factor and like he helps us win. Why Golden State? Why Golden State over Phoenix?
I think Phoenix is just going to run into a lot of trouble. And Chris Paul's Achilles heel is the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry. So. I can't see him getting past that point. And I think Golden State's right now just if they're healthy, they're on a mission. They got a deeper bench, in my opinion, than Phoenix. So I like them coming out the West.
Stevie, are you excited about the ping pong ball night for your Magic? I don't know when that's coming, but I think you did pretty good in the Tankathon, right? You guys finished in the top 3, I think. Yes,
we did.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm very pumped. I'll be mad because we'll get like ping pong ball 3 and like we won't get anybody to really change our team and then it'll be back to tanking again next year. But hey, that's how Philly got here. So I mean, let's just do it.
There you go. Yeah, tonight's slate, by the way, it's gotten thinner if you're all not aware. Several rainouts already. We've seen. Well, let me pull them up officially because. I was looking at Weather Edge, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth kind of warned us about it in the morning as well. We have Washington. No, not Washington. What were the 2 postponed games?
The Mets and the Washington Nationals.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. All right. So I'm reading the thing. It says Minnesota at Boston postponed. I'm like, that's not correct. But, I'm just like, I'm I'm Ron Burgundy, man. You throw it up on the screen and I'll read it. But at the same time, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So we have a 9-game slate, Andre, that all of a sudden gets trimmed down to a 7-game slate. And it's a super, super obvious, like, where the chalk is. You know, the Phillies got some great boppers. They're on the road in the best ballpark to hit baseballs. Coors Field against Chad Kuhl, who's like a shaky pitcher at best. Second highest Sierra on the slate, and you kind of line up all the pitchers. It feels like a really good game theory slate. Of course, if you're playing cash games, you're just going to load up on Phillies. We don't have a Philly lineup just yet for what it's worth, but we should be getting that soon enough. But yeah, Andre, like that is the big decision point. And there are now, with 2 less games, there are less places to pivot away from Philadelphia, and the ownership's going to get even stronger on the likes of, Bryce Harper and, Kyle Schwarber. And we're going to break this down position by position, talk about the pitchers and all that too. But I just think a good overarching conversation for the slate is how to handle the Phillies.
It's the only way to handle it is to play them. Like, I don't know how else you can get away from them today. I was trying to look at other spots, and they're just in the clearest, best position today. And I know, like, even if you read like Cheese's article today on $1 Million Muse, he even spoke about it. Like, even if they weren't playing in Coors, they probably would still be like the top team on the slate. So with that being said, it is kind of hard to get away from them on here. There's other teams that then you could go with, and that have good options that can hopefully just put up more runs than them. But I don't know how likely that is today with the way Coors is there. But there are a couple of teams on here that I do like that do have that upside, just as much as the Phillies today.
So how do you get different? You roster different Phillies, like, we don't have the lineup just yet, but I talked about this in the expert survey today. Shout out to me, shout out to Stevie, the 2 of us, Steve, Cheese is Good. Dave Potts also wrote in there. That is free today, I believe. You don't have to be a premium subscriber. We're giving away the expert survey today. And that's one of the things I talked about, Andre, is like, and I mostly play, or I concentrate my lineups on like single entry, 3-entry max stuff. Mm-hmm. And ownership condenses even more in that on the good stuff. And the good stuff is super, super clear. So I was thinking, like, maybe I just don't play Bryce Harper, or maybe I just don't play Reese or Kyle Schwarber, or maybe I don't play both. But I still get a chunk of Phillies. What is your plan of attack? Or just like, you want to go like 80% on those and just be well over on everybody that's good?
Well, I'm going to be probably well over the field on a lot of these guys, pretty much all these guys. But my plan of attack always is the same when it comes to a chalky lineup. I don't normally just try to use the back half. Since a lot of people don't like to use the back half of the lineup, just why not just tackle it that way, or wrap it around? Seems like people don't like doing that as often as they should, in my opinion. So that's why I would just attack the slate today and just use the back half of these lineups. And because I see right now we have like a couple guys like that are projected to bat like 9th and projected to bat 8th that are not getting as much ownership as the top half and 6th. So it's like, hey, if those guys are not going to be that owned, I'll just attack that half and see what happens. And mix and match with some of the top guys in there too as well.
Oakland got a bit of a COVID outbreak. Chad Pinder not playing today. Lowry not playing today, not available. Their lineup just dropped a few minutes ago as well. Kemp, Anders, Murphy, McKinney, Betancourt, Smith, Noisy, Smith, and Pache batting today for Oakland. Still waiting for Philadelphia. Yeah, there's some cheapies out there too, depending on what they do. We might see Camargo, who could be all of a sudden really chalky. We can kind of sort of make stuff work. How about yourself, Stevie? Like, what are you doing with Philadelphia? How do you separate yourself, especially if you're playing? I don't know if you're playing like in the 30,000 person field, like that kind of thing, but the Phillies are super obvious. Like, how do you be a little bit different to try to separate yourself from everybody else that sees the same thing?
I mean, I play a lot of single entry, 3-entry max nowadays. I'm not a mass multi-enter person anymore. It's changed so much with kids. Like, anybody that has kids understands that. So, I mean, I'm looking at the pitching on this slate and going, all right, I'm just going to be overweight on Minaya, overweight on Montas, and overweight on Garcia. And Garcia, I mean, his ownership is nice because he's lower owned than both of Montas and Minaya by like a 4th and a 5th of the ownership. So I compare those guys with a guy like Garcia. So I think he's someone that, you could potentially get different with on this slate. I was really looking at Alex Cobb, and that game kind of got rained out. Want to kind of avoid hitters in this Cubs game because the weather is really bad. Like, yeah, the wind's blowing out, and that's fantastic, but it's like 25 degrees. So I want to kind of stay away from that. I really like Houston. I really like Oakland to kind of pair with Philadelphia. And I mean, the Brewers ownership is something that's kind of standing out to me. Outside of like Yelich and Rowdy, the rest of that team's pretty low owned. So looking at them as a potential, pairing with Philly. Because I mean, at the end of the day, Philly's in such a good spot, and if this game was in Philadelphia, we'd still be stacking Philly in this spot because it's just so good. Chad Kuhl is not good. He struggles against lefties and righties. This bullpen is mediocre. So just overall, I mean, we're playing the Phillies for a reason today. So I'm looking for lower owned pieces to kind of pair with them. Like I said, I think Oakland is like my favorite. I mentioned that in expert survey today as well. Oakland and Houston, just two teams that I'm really going to be loading up here with Philadelphia.
Only one lefty in that Colorado pen as well, Ty Blach. Otherwise, it's a pile of righties. Does Oakland, like losing Lowry and Chad Pinder, does that make it? I mean, their lineup's not good as is. I understand why you want to play him just to be different, right? But
it kind of helps now, right? Because now we get an even cheaper potential secondary stack with Kemp in a good lineup spot, and he's really cheap across the industry. So, I mean, Andrus, shortstop's kind of weak in general today. And, Murphy, a catcher that's super expensive that nobody's going to play. So, I mean, I think Oakland is just, it might even be better now that Lowry is out. I mean, Pinder really doesn't matter, but I was kind of hoping they would bat Seth Brown fifth. But Oakland loves this like lefty righty type of lineup. And I hate it. I hate when they do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. For some reason, managers think you can't bat like lefties back to back or something like that. That's a kind of weird thing. I rant about it, but as far as Houston too, like why they have Yordan Alvarez, usually fourth sometimes, and they have what's his name, Kyle Tucker, like one of the best hitters in baseball, that's six, which is just weird to me. I think he should be hitting higher, but hey, I'm not the manager. What else did we want to say before we kind of break down position by position? Oh, and I pulled up the weather edge as far as Chicago, and there's just no sample for it. Like it's a 4-game sample, it's bad. Like you said, and Roth kind of wrote about how it's going to be pretty miserable out there. It doesn't look like fun baseball weather, at this point. And Houston is their dome's going to be open today. I don't know what the degrees the temperature is in Houston right now. It's probably, 80 or so. So it's probably actually pretty good hitting weather. And you mentioned Milwaukee. I'm not sure if it's open or it's not. It's got to be closed in Milwaukee. Yeah, they have the retractable roof, and that's just so much more appealing this time of year, right, Andre? When it comes to, I'm sure you've seen a lot of just terrible weather to start the season. And Cardi was tweeting out earlier today about how home runs are down significantly this year so far. I'm not sure if that's because of a shortened spring training or they have the humidor in every single stadium now. Who really knows what's going on? But, and the weather, I think it's probably the biggest thing. Your thoughts on that and thoughts on weather before, as far as the slate, like, Coors is fine. I think I'm pulling up weather edge now, actually. 42 game sample, 65 degrees, wind blowing out a little bit out to left field. You lose 8% as far as homers. Runs are basically the same. I don't think there's anything crazy there. I think it's fine, especially considering the other ballparks. Your take here, Andre?
Yeah, I think weather is a big part in it today, and that's what makes you want to make sure you go get the better pitching on the slate as opposed to targeting a lot of like these bats because there's not going to be a lot of home runs today. So getting a pitcher in a good spot is very key and important, and we have a couple of good options, so that's why we'll be targeting today and using that to my advantage with the weather, and then taking the shots in some of these games and using, like you said, the weather edge tool that we have. I think that's great because it gives you an idea in a big sample size over time of what weather's going to be like and how to predict it, and also how to go about it the right way in your lineups. Like I know we have the Padres going against Cincinnati, not a great ballpark for home runs, but it's a good increase in total runs in only 21 games, but that's a good sample size enough. And Oakland and Baltimore. No one's talking about the Baltimore side. I know I know they have a good pitcher that Baltimore's using. The Baltimore's going against Montas, but you never know. Anything is possible on the slate. We saw the Yankees just lose 5-0 yesterday. Was it yesterday, I believe, to Baltimore? So anything is possible. And on this slate, I think any type of hits matter. So it makes you realize that you cannot kind of eliminate any team from the player pool too. Like any team in full, almost from the player pool, unless they're in absolutely horrible weather, and taking chances on these teams that are in the good hitting weathers, because you never know. Any pitcher is liable to get blown up at any given moment on the slate.
Your Yankees scored, I think, a total of 6 runs in Baltimore in 3 games, 29 innings.
That's depressing.
I know you don't play them, like you say they always fail when they're chalky, right?
Yes, you don't ever play them when they're chalky because that's when
they know somehow. Pirates lineup just came out. Brian Hayes leading off, and Reynolds, Chavis. They got Vogelbach, big boy. CEO of Team Girth is batting cleanup, left on left against Lauer, Castillo, Newman, Jake Marisnik, Perez, and Tucker, who's most famous for being somebody's boyfriend. Who knows this? Who's Tucker? Tucker's girlfriend. She's pretty famous. Anybody? We'll Google if we have to. This is important stuff. This is the thing. This is Cole Tucker. She's like a pop star or an actress. Anybody?
Okay.
Vanessa Hudgens. Hudgens?
Oh, okay. Hudgens.
There we go. That's important stuff to know as far as the show. All right. So, Stevie, anything worth kind of digging in? Again, it's a really kind of straightforward, like what the good stuff is on this slate and just how you want to adjust to it. And I think it's pretty straightforward as far as the pitchers, too. We kind of alluded to it a couple times, but especially if depending on where you're shopping, the DK price on Frankie Montas, like, good Lord, what are we doing? I don't know what he did to DraftKings, but he is so cheap over there. I think he's the 11th most expensive guy out of 18. Well, that's what it was this morning. We've lost a couple games. You know what I mean? Anything overarching, Stevie, before we kind of break down, pitchers, every position, all the good stuff, anything the chat wants to talk about?
I mean, I think I kind of did my overview when we were talking about it, but nothing really like jumping off. Like it's not one of those slates where I love a lot of props, so it's more of a fantasy slate for me. There's still a couple. I think Sean Manaea is still at like 6 strikeouts over on Prize Picks, and like Bryce Harper, it might have gotten taken off the board, but he was at like 1.5 total bases over on Prize Picks. That was something that like I did a few of those this morning. So outside of that kind of stuff, it just sets up as a really good like tournament slate. Whether you're playing 150, whether you're like me that's playing like a 300 max type of stuff. There's a lot of different ways you can approach this slate, and stacking might not be the best on this slate. So, I might look more for like 3 or 4 man stacks than like a full 5-man stack today. Just to try to be a little bit different on my potential Philly stacks.
I did play some Prize Picks today. I got a 3-person Prize Picks, all pitchers, all over. Eric Lauer, 4.5 over on strikeouts. Luis Garcia, 4.5 on strikeouts. So that was too low. That there's a ton of strikeouts in that Angels lineup today, and of course they're missing Trout as well. Garcia, the only tricky thing with him is how long is he going to go? They typically don't let him go that far. And Manaea at 6, I thought seemed too low as well. We talked about these on the Scores and Odds show earlier today, and we talked about Luis Garcia, where you get him. I think it was over 4.5 at plus 130. It's since now is like minus 130. I don't know if the sites weren't aware that Trout wasn't playing or what was going on, or like all the strikeouts in that Angels lineup, but I feel pretty good about over 4.5 at plus 130. If you got it earlier today. How about yourself, Andre? Go
really
ahead.
Quick before you go to Dre. I like Castellanos over 1.5 total bases as well.
And that's not including walks, right?
It's not walks. Yeah, it's a single would be a base, a double would be 2 bases, a home run would be 4 bases. Total bases to me are just another way to kind of look at, like, I like hits and walks, but like they don't have any Philly players up for hits and walks on this slate over on Prize Picks.
They took them all down.
Yeah.
And me and you are we're stuck in Florida where there's no sports gambling. Andre, have you got any bets out there? You're in New York, I believe. I assume you're still in New York.
Yeah, I am. I haven't gotten a chance to look at the baseball slate for bets. I was trying to get some basketball bets in today.
You got anything in basketball wise?
Yeah, I actually do have a couple. Let me go in here real quick. There's a lot of alternate numbers. Because you can in the playoffs you have to. I feel like you have to calm down with the total scoring a little bit because the game slows down a little bit more. A couple that I really, really do. Well, I'll give you some. Obviously, like the three top favorite teams today. I love them a lot today to win. I actually like Reggie Bullock over on his threes. I think it's at 2.5. I think that he's definitely going to go over that for sure today. I like Donovan Mitchell for 3 threes as well. I also got I like Steph Curry for 20 points. I think I'm not sure if that's an alternate or that's at his number for today. But I do like him for at least 20 points today, and Jordan Poole to be at like 15 points today, for sure. And I don't like I think Jokic was over like 8 assists, I believe, today. When I looked at it earlier, if I'm correct, I like him a little bit under that. I like him around like around 5 or 6.
We had a Bullock projected for 42 minutes today. How playoff rotations go and how thin Dallas is in the absence of Luka. Yeah, I was kind of looking at a somewhere minute projection. Of course, FEV as well. Philly's lineup is out. Kind of a bummer if you like Schwarber. Doesn't mean you can't play him, but I was hoping he would lead off. Now he's down to the 5 hole. I don't understand. But Real Muto's leading off, and then Harper, Castellanos, Hoskins, Schwarber, Alec Baum, James Segura, Stott, and then Verling is your the back end of the Philadelphia lineup. Again, they're facing a righty, and there's only one lefty in the bullpen for what it's worth. All right, let's talk about some pitchers. Oh, let's say hello to the chat as well. What up there, YouTube? Hit that like button. We would appreciate that. Helps us keep the lights on. Lets us know that you're enjoying the show and the whole deal. Also, if you want to ask some questions, feel free. We're going to have plenty of time to field any questions. Producer Steve, producer Devin, they're lurking. They'll pull your questions, throw them my way. Of course, another way you can get us questions is through the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. That is not a premium channel. That is a free channel. Feel free to jump in there and join the conversation. All right. Stevie, we talked about Montas on DK. What up with that price, man? Like, how do you that's goofy, right?
I mean, pricing is soft in general for the first few weeks of baseball season every year. His price is way too cheap. 7.3. There's a reason that he's projected for like 52% ownership. It's just, if you're trying to play Philly, he's going to be someone. We see a much lower projected ownership for him over there on FanDuel. I think it's like 22 or 23% when I looked earlier. So, obviously Montas draws one of the best matchups on the slate going up against Baltimore. This lineup has a ton of strikeouts in it. Montas is a good pitcher. So yeah, I mean, the price is just way too cheap. I mean, we don't even need to get into it too much. Like he's just too cheap.
We don't need to, but we're here for the next hour. So we might as well break it down and talk about whatever. Of course, we're relieved by Crunch Time as well. The Crunch Time crew, you guys know, sponsored by FanDuel, is free the entire season. No need to leave the stream. Just stay on this stream and they'll take you guys straight up the lock. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth will tell you what's going on weather-wise. I believe it's Will and Dave Potts. Cheese is good. Just got the Cincinnati lineup, by the way. Farmer, now you want as many lefties as possible against Minaya, and they have a hard time getting away from their lefties. They got Farmer, who's a righty. Naquin, lefty, leading is batting second. Then Tommy Pham, Votto, Stevenson, Drury. Oh, you got Moustakas in there, which is great if you like Minaya. He's terrible, and he's falling apart, and it's left on left, and Minaya strikes out 32% of lefties. Aristides Aquino, also, he's a righty, but he strikes out a ton also. And then you got Fraley, another lefty that strikes out a pile. This is the lineup I was rooting for. This is what I wanted to see. If you want a Minaya, man, I was looking at some of the alt K stuff on him, and my bold prediction today in the survey, Stevie, I don't know what yours was. My bold prediction was Minaya getting 10 strikeouts, and it's possible. I'm telling you, there's a chance.
But then you wrote up Montas as your top pitcher. See, I wrote up Minaya as my top pitcher, and I said there was going to be at least 4 lefties in the lineup. So I get double points.
Well, here's the thing. I wrote up Montas because, if you read my blurb, Montas is I'm like, look, it's a coin toss. I don't know which one to write up, but I'm going to say that I'll take Montas because you're writing both for FanDuel and for DraftKings, and in theory, any site you're playing on. And that was kind of my tiebreaker because the Montas price was such an outlier. But I did say my favorite pitcher on FanDuel was Manaea, where they're basically the same price, but that's really 51.49. It's such a coin toss to me.
And my my hot take was Billy McKinney hits for the cycle.
Is he like a big boy, McKinney? He's not getting a triple, is he?
Listen, it's Oakland, baby.
Yeah, well, Andre, is that if you liked Manaea today, I assume that's the lineup you're looking for. And then we got to have the Manaea versus Montas conversation. That's a FanDuel specific conversation. And also we talked about Garcia. Garcia is actually really cheap over there. I don't know how much, you can use the savings, sure. I don't know if he's going to get that quality start. It'd be nice. In theory, I suppose he could get to 6, but it seems unlikely. Yeah, Andre, did you agree that, and also Kershaw's pitching, who threw a perfect game in 7 innings, who's kind of lost on this slate, which is weird. We'll talk about him, obviously. Andre, when you consider everything, do you think that it's Manaea and Montas, like 1-2 in some form?
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to get away from them because their prices are too cheap, and Kershaw's $11K. Kershaw was throwing a perfect game, and they still took him out after 80 pitches. Like, that's all we need to know about why you can't play him at that price. Granted, you can play him and get different by all means, which is great, especially on a slate like this today. But how much upside does he offer in this matchup against Atlanta? Atlanta still has a good lineup that they can put out there against him. And granted, Kershaw's going to get some strikeout, but I also think he will have some balls that will be in play today. So therefore, going with the easier route where you have Montas going against Baltimore, which is a strikeout heavy lineup, and Sean Manaea, who strikes out lefties at, like you said, 32%. 32% on average strikeout rate versus lefties, and a few righties he strikes out about 23%, which is still, it's not the best, but it's still not bad at all either. So I think that I think those two by far just make it easy for them to be the top 2 options on the slate, and you can't go wrong with either one of them unless one of them gets blown up. Honestly, that's the way I look at it. So, and that's what you're just hoping for, to not get blown up. Like a guy like Luis Garcia is someone that does interest me a lot, especially with the Angels having a heavy strikeout lineup now that with Mike Trout being hurt. But it's just hard to justify how many innings he's going to play. But the price is right at 6,700 on FanDuel, to where I would want to try to roster him to see how he does.
Just seeing a note now from producer Devin. I guess this makes a lot of sense. Slate locks now at 740.
Yep.
Okay, because I guess the 7:05 game or 7:10 game has been canceled. So I lied about, we're not going to go straight to 740. We'll be here for the next 30, 40 minutes, whatever it is. And then there'll be a little bit of a break. And then there's going to be a new stream to fire up as far as crunch time, because they're not going to go for an hour plus. That doesn't make any sense. Just a heads up, programming note, but we'll stay here as long as it takes to knock out talking about the slate, answer the questions in chat, and then we'll step aside and, I guess, Devin, let me know what time crunch time is going to start. He probably put it here someplace. I just can't see it, but I would imagine around 7 o'clock or 6:50. Yeah, that's plenty of time, I assume, but we'll see. All right. Yeah, because the game is, I didn't even think of that for whatever reason. Andre, where are you playing today predominantly? DK, FanDuel?
I'm playing more on FanDuel today than DK, just because I had the qualifier today on FanDuel, but DK is still the same. So,
let's see. Chasing the Q. What do we have? Number 11, 618 of 740. What's second place in this nonsense? It's like nothing, right? Well, $500, but still, it's like a punch in the face. Where do we know where this live final is?
I don't think they've announced it yet, but I know where it is.
Oh, you know a guy who knows a guy? Like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's the place you want to go.
Oh, they do announce it. It's Chicago. It is Chicago.
Okay, cool. And you probably have a tie-in with Wrigley or something like that too, I would imagine. They usually take you a game. All right. Man, I don't chase these things enough. I don't know why. I should live a little. It's fun, right? That's got to be fun to win these things.
Oh, it is. Well, I have never won one, but it's fun at least attending until you win.
Well, you win just by getting there, right? And then all of a sudden, how many qualifiers have you been in?
About
All sports.
about like 4 or 5. So it's fun going to them. Yes, definitely. But the goal is to always come in first place and walk out there with $500,000.
That'd be nice. How about yourself, Stevie? Do you still chase the queues? And did they have a NASCAR queue? Does anybody have a NASCAR qualifier?
They do. I play the NASCAR one when I feel like there's a huge edge. But yeah, I think I have 8 or 9.
Oh wow.
Finals. No, but I haven't. I mean, that's all like pre 2018. I haven't chased them in a long time. I mean, they're big time negative ROI. If you,
it's a bankroll suck if you're not banking.
Oh yeah, and like even if you like qualify, like Dre will tell you need to finish like top 3 to even make it worth it. I mean, the trips are cool and the people you get to meet. I've met a lot of great people. But yeah, man, it's just I'd rather like dad life, dude. I'm down for the like 1 to 3 entries. Really focus on those 3 teams, and make my money and move on. I don't need to chase those massive paydays anymore.
I'm a good +1. I'm a good yes man. If you need like a yes man, I can do that. I was at the Playboy Mansion, the FanDuel. Remember that was a thing like 5 years ago, whatever it was. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I never really chased live finals. Because I'm too much of a nit, I guess, is kind of the problem. Maybe I'll fire out a couple if I feel like I have an edge on a slate.
Now, when you did the Playboy Mansion, did you do Star Street or were you there with FanDuel?
FanDuel.
Okay, because the Star Street ones were nutty.
They were what? The FanDuel one was like PG-13?
It was. I mean, there was a huge difference, but yeah. Sorry.
Well, I guess
saying, the Star Street one was nuts.
Is there anything you could say about it, or everything stays at the mansion?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Andre, so how are you handling this as far as FanDuel? Because you can't play on DK. I think it's pretty clear. In cash, you play Montas, you play Manaya, and then those 2 are grabbing a ton of ownership. You can get different in tournaments. The pitcher for Houston though on FanDuel is pretty interesting. If you want to save some salary, he just seems way too cheap over there. Go ahead.
No, I was like, he's way too, which is why the reason why I'm considering being overweight on him today. Because I'm just hoping that even if he goes like 4, maybe 5 innings, he gets about 6 or 7 strikeouts to make it kind of worth my while. And at 6,700, that way you'd be able to fit all these this Philadelphia bats in, and he's also coming at lesser ownership. So that's the way I'm looking at it, and going to try to go about it today with him. And just hope that he gets close enough to Sean Mania and Montas where it won't even matter, in my opinion. Because I know like these guys are on their 2nd or 3rd start now. Mania's on his 3rd start. Montas is on his 3rd start as well. So these guys are almost fully stretched out. Maybe one more game just to hopefully let it go a little bit longer. I mean, hopefully maybe like 6 innings from Mania and about maybe about 5 or maybe about 5, hopefully maybe the most 6 from Montas. So if Garcia could get me to just 5 innings, maybe even stretch it to 6, I'll be happy. And paying significantly less, I think that gives you an edge in tournaments over right there in itself. And just like I say, all you have to do is just strike these guys out in this Angels lineup, and then we'll be good to go.
There's a lot of Ks there too. Against righties, this lineup strikes out 28% of the time. If you look at, which is an insane number, it's a huge number. Of course, there's the absence of Trout as well, which is weakens lineup overall from a run, a run prevention perspective. If you're looking at the plate IQ, and like again, it's dummy proof. Like red is bad, green is good. All these guys are red as far as strikeouts. The one that strikes out the least is Anthony Rendon at 20.3%. It's not a contact heavy lineup at all. Again, the tricky part with Garcia is 71 pitches his first start. Is his second start? Maybe you figure 85 or so, depending on how efficient he may or may not is. Out there on the mound, I guess maybe 5. You're begging. 6, you're thrilled with, obviously, but 5 might be good enough if he gets a W as well too. Good strikeout pitcher just in general, 26%, 27%, and just a pile of Ks sitting there in that Angels lineup. That Angels lineup is bad, falls off the table when Trout's in there. It looks significantly worse. Ward batting second, Marsh, good prospect, but a lot of holes in his bat, obviously. The other interesting one here, Andre, is Milwaukee. Milwaukee against Pittsburgh, and I don't know how much you need Lauer. Lauer, pretty good strikeout pitcher, but again, more strikeouts in this Pittsburgh lineup, 23.6%. Basically, Hayes, good contact guy. Newman is annoying. He'll just ground out and pop out, not going to strike out 5.3%. But there are a ton of strikeouts in this Pittsburgh lineup as well. How much do you think you need Lauer? If you're playing on FanDuel, obviously you can only roster one.
Honestly, I don't think I'm going to get to Lauer, but I actually kind of like Pittsburgh today a little bit.
Oh.
Just a tiny bit. Obviously, I know, like you said, they have a pretty decent amount of guys that make contact with the ball today. And Lauer's obviously more bad to probably more bad to righties than he is to lefties. So I'm going to take my chances with them today as far as using as a secondary stacking in different. I don't expect Lauer to put up a massive number either. I'm not getting that much of him, even just in general when I was running my optimizer all day today. Actually, I was getting a lot of them, but I'm gonna just tone that down because I think we've seen this spot before. I think last week where Pittsburgh was against a pitcher and they just put up a good outing on him. So I'm just gonna take my chances on the hitting side of that today and just calm down the Lauer train and not be as exposed to him as everyone else is today, and go more so like Garcia, Montanas, and Minaya.
By the way, program, I did a poor job multitasking, reading what producer Devin was saying. We are going to seamlessly segue right into crunch time. It's just that crunch time is not going to go straight up the lock to 7:40. They'll answer all the questions, as many questions as you want answered. They'll stick around, probably like 7:10, 7:15. However that goes, but they are going to leave at some point. So nothing changes on our end, guys. that was my bad. And it is all one stream. If you're on the old YouTube, Stevie, what do you think of Lauer today? DK, especially where you got a roster too. And, you can't just play Montas and Minaya and then Phillies and be like, well, that's how you print money today. Like in theory, goofy baseball things happen. The high variance is crazy. Like you're supposed to do something different than that, right? Is Lauer possibly something different?
I mean, the lineup is good for him, right? There's a lot of strikeouts here. Chavez, Vogelbach, Castillo, Marisnik, Perez, all over 27% against lefties since the start of last season. So the lineup is good for him. He has a 26% K rate against righties. So I think he's someone that is kind of on the verge. I do like his strikeout prop. I think it's like 4.5. So, we kind of talked about that earlier as well. But I think he's someone that is definitely on the list today. Again, personally, I think I'm ending up on Garcia, Minaya, and Montas for my 3 entry max teams and just kind of mixing those guys and probably playing 2 of them on each team, like just, getting 2 of 3 on all 3 teams. So just playing a mix of those 3 guys. So I think Lauer, I don't know why Lauer, especially because I'm playing mostly on DraftKings, but I don't know why Lauer is projected for more ownership than Garcia because there's just as many strikeouts in this Angels lineup. So I like Garcia, like I said, as that like pivot instead of Lauer. In tournaments too, if you're looking for someone to get like really different today, I think it's Shane McCallahan. This is going to be really crappy weather in Chicago where like typically we wouldn't be playing pitchers and like wind blowing out. But like if he can grip the baseball and he can keep his hand warm, which I mean, you never know what to expect when it's this cold, especially for someone that's pitched for a long time. But I think he is someone that's super interesting here if you want to, just kind of get different. And even he's kind of projected for some ownership, but I do think he's potentially a pivot off of Montas, who is going to see probably double, if not triple the ownership.
They do baby him a little bit, right? Tampa tends not to push their young guys too much.
Minaya, he likely doesn't go 95 plus today, even with it being his 3rd time. I think kids gloves for him still with not a very like extended spring training. So, I mean, not probably as bad as McCallahan or Clanahan, Montas, I mean, I think he's kind of maxed out at like 95 pitches too. So I think they both pitch more than him, but I think in like tournaments, you're looking for strikeouts and maybe going 5 or 6 innings. If this weather is going to be that bad, kind of grades out as a really good pitcher today. I was just looking at it when you guys were talking about it.
Yeah, I was looking at Manaea as well, and they let him go 7 innings and 88 pitches first game, and then 6 innings, 86. And sometimes some managers just kind of have the cap of like, well, they're going to go 7 or they're going to go 6, and like the pitch count. I guess I would argue that like if Manaea needed to throw like 95 pitches to complete 6, and he was pitching well, they would let him. But you know what I mean? Like I think they kind of closed it. Sometimes it's like, oh, he had 7 innings, that's it. Now we're going to put in our setup guy. Now we're going to put in our closer. So yeah, but I do agree with what you're saying. I think Manaea has a few more pitches in there if he needs him. And it's interesting we're not talking about really Kershaw, and also like Aaron Nola, close to a Cy Young winner or former Cy Young winner, or I don't know if he won the Cy Young, but he was in the conversation. Colorado lineup, of course it's Coors Field. Ownership will reflect that, but he's still a really good pitcher, and there's no Chris Bryant. That Colorado lineup is not great outside the fact that they're swinging in Coors. I don't know, Andre, are you playing any Nola at all in tournaments? I just think that in theory, he could be the top scoring pitcher on the slate and wouldn't shock us.
It wouldn't, I probably should, because we've seen this before where everyone runs to Coors and then the game is like 2-1 or something like that. So, and we saw a lot of that last year. So it is a good idea to think about it, but when it comes to I just love the bats too much on the side against Cole. He's not that great of a pitcher, so it kind of makes it hard to want to get Aaron Nola in there against these Colorado guys, and you can take a chance on them too. I wouldn't mind it for sure, but at that price of 9,500, I mean, you have other guys that I think are in a little bit better or in better matchups that are cheaper than him. Well, not cheaper than him, but a little bit more expensive, and that might work out a little bit better. Or even you, like I said, go down to Lauer if you want to, or go down to Luis Garcia, who can have that same strikeout upside in better matchups.
Yeah, I mean, he's possibly the best pitcher, just the best arm on the slate. 30% Ks, doesn't walk anybody, 5%.
If you're running 150, I would run like 5%. I would easily double the field, so like 5 to 6%.
Is he projected to be 3% owned on FanDuel? Is that it?
Yeah, he's like 3% owned on FanDuel, so I would run like 6% of him easily.
Yeah, I'm not running 150, but I think I'd be a little bit over. It doesn't take much to get over. Andre, give me your summary as far as the arms.
Now you're making me add Nola to the pool.
I was gonna say I might have just like changed like one of my Garcia teams to Nola. But he has the highest strikeout rate on the slate. Like, he's he's probably the most talented pitcher on the slate. Like, yeah, Clayton Kershaw is a potential Hall of Famer, but if we're looking at right now, Aaron Nola is probably the most talented pitcher on the slate. He doesn't walk people. Where you get in trouble in Coors, like you start walking people or, giving up singles and stuff, and, doubles turn into triples there and singles turn into doubles. We always talk about like home runs, but like realistically, you target Coors because it's such a big ballpark, and, you do hit the gap, and like, I've seen big guys get triples in that ballpark. So, I think I'm actually going to take a Garcia team down and play a Nola team now, just kind of looking at like his ownership. Like Aaron Nola is the most talented pitcher on the slate, and he's projected for less than 10% ownership. And that's kind of all you need to know about wanting to get exposure to him. Yes, it's Coors, but it's not like this lineup is the best. Crone, obviously he's someone that can hit right-handed pitching really well, but I mean, Blackman is past his prime. He doesn't strike out a lot, but with Bryant out of the lineup, I actually kind of wish Bryant was in the lineup. He's a guy that would scare more people off of Nola.
Yep, I'm already convinced. He convinced me. I just doubled the field already with Nola. So
I moved the needle apparently. Yeah, I'm gonna make one Nola lineup on DK just because. I mean, I won't have it. I likely won't have it in my single entry or 3 entry stuff. Then I kind of mess around with some other, for funsies. I make some other lineups just in case, that kind of thing. And then that's
I just put him in my 3 entry, Dean. Come on.
I like it, man. He's going to be like.
I had the
4%.
salary left over too, where it didn't change my lineup, so it was absolutely perfect.
I love it.
I had a Garcia team, and it had the money. I still have $100 left over, so it was fantastic.
And it's a good point to your point, because like everybody does think of Coors is like this great home run ballpark, and it is. It's a good home run ballpark, but it's best because it's huge in the vast field, and it's third actually if you go to Fangraphs as far as park factors. But this has to be updated because Baltimore's second, and I imagine that's going to change. Cincinnati, the small park, was better. Colorado a little bit better than Philadelphia for what it's worth. Steve, you want anything else to add? I didn't even say it the whole time, but anything you want to add as far as closing out pitchers, or shall we talk about some sticks?
Cincinnati has to be the number one ballpark for hitters, right? Like, isn't that what you're saying?
For home runs, it's a 112, and 12 means it's 12% better than the average ballpark.
Yeah, that
Baltimore
ballpark
111, but this is last year. This is 2020 actually. I wonder if 2021 is different.
I mean, to sum up pitching, I think we kind of are jumping on board on Aaron Nola in tournaments because of the ownership and the potential. But I still think Garcia, Manaea, Montas is too cheap on DraftKings. Sean Manaea, 4 lefties in the lineup for Cincinnati. Some of the righties aren't the best. Manaea is probably my favorite pitcher on the slate. If I had to, like, especially on FanDuel, like you guys were talking about, they're so close in price. It's hands down Manaea. On DraftKings, Montas, Manaea, they're kind of a toss-up, but I still like Manaea more. Even considering the price, I like Manaea more. This is a great spot for him.
The other interesting thing, by the way, you talk about the 4 lefties, and I was like, oh, Votto. You think of Votto as kind of a contact guy, at least like do historically, but last year, recently he's starting to go for homers. 31% strikeouts against lefties at 173 sample size since 2021.
He changed his whole swing last year.
Yeah, like he's going for all or nothing. He's all with that the launch angle life, and like Naquin strikes out a ton, and Moose is just terrible. Yeah, I think Manaea is. I have him slightly ahead of Montas on FanDuel. It's close. Yeah, all right. I think we talked enough about pitchers. Let's talk about the hitters. Going to go around the horn. Of course, on FanDuel, you don't have to play a catcher. We'll talk some catchers real briefly. I believe a catcher is leading off. Yeah, for the Padres, Aaron Nola. Not Aaron Nola. What's the guy's name? It's
Austin Nola.
Austin Nola. I knew it was an A. Machado, Cronenworth, Voigt, Profar, Myers, Alfaro. So, Nola's DHing. That makes sense. They're playing 2 catchers. Kim and Azakar are drawing the start there. Who's not playing? Who's Azakar playing for? Baltimore out as well. Mullins, Mountcastle, Santander, Mancini, Odor, Urias, Hayes. Ben Boom is in there. He's not good. And Mateo. All right. Going to look at that in a second as far as Baltimore. All right, Andre, give me some catchers. I think you're playing on FanDuel predominantly. You don't have to play any, but certainly Realmuto leading off in Coors is a good option.
Yes, he is. Hold on, quick. Sorry, I have to get to my catchers. Yeah, Realmuto's obviously the best option to go with today. I do like getting to a guy like I know obviously Sean Murphy in Oakland. I like Oakland stacks today. I think they're gonna be somewhat popular, but I think he's another good option we can go with today. I kind of really do wish. Well, I might take a chance on this too. We also got what is it? Bethencourt, I believe his name is. Oakland as well, who's another catcher that's in the lineup. So I'm like at 2K, he's a salary saver that you can have going against Watkins. And he's batting 5th overall in the lineup. So I kind of like him because he's going to be probably not that targeted on as far as because he's wasn't in the project line that people were thinking about today. So he's someone I definitely would try to look at and get to be different today. And obviously the guy like Austin Nola, someone I definitely want to try to get to as well.
Yeah, Nola leading off there is against Lodolo, who's a big time prospect. He has like 38-39% Ks in the minors. We'll see. I mean, he's interesting. We didn't talk about him. I think he's in your 150 pool, maybe probably more so on DK than on FanDuel. But and like a lot of young guys, he's had some issues with control. But who knows what you're going to get in the Lodolo side. What do you have, Stevie, as far as catchers today?
I hate paying up a catcher, but I mean, paying up a catcher today it makes a ton of sense with Realmuto. Sean Murphy, if you like Oakland as much as I do, If you want to save some money on DraftKings, Austin Nola, you guys hammered it. Batting leadoff against a young pitcher. And then the other one that I want to bring up is Navarez for Milwaukee. His ownership is kind of spiked a little bit on DraftKings since this morning. I hate playing chalky, cheap catchers, but I love this spot for him just in general. Like the price tag at 3.2K. That's kind of it. I don't see myself getting up to Will Smith, even though he's kind of in that like range where we probably won't see him on a lot of teams. The weather stinks for like Contreras and Zunino. Max Stassi, I like him more against left-handed pitching. So, if you're paying up, I think it's kind of, put in front of you. And then I think if you're spending down, Austin Nola under 4K is probably the best option. Or you're just fully punting with like a Molinado at 2.4K, wrapping around like a Houston stack if you're stacking Houston.
But I just pulled up the plate IQ as far as that Baltimore lineup, and there's plenty of strikeouts outside of Mullins and Santander, but 25.3% collectively striking out versus righties, and not a lot of power either. Ben Boom strikes out 36%. It's not a huge sample, but he's not very good. Mateo at the bottom, 27%. Odor, we know he's kind of an all or nothing guy, and even the all has been kind of off. The power has faded the last couple of years. Just wanted to note that Montas, if in case we wasn't clear, has himself a nice matchup. Stevie, first base, we're just going to say Phillies every time, I imagine. Hey, there's Rhys Hoskins in Coors Field. He's one of the first baseman you can roster, of course. Nobody's going to play Matt Olson left on left versus Kershaw. We know his ability. Seth Brown, you talk about liking him. You can throw him in the outfield or first base today. I'm not sure what you have a preference, what it makes us, where it makes more sense as far as your lineup construction. What do you have as far as first baseman?
I love Freddie Freeman as a pivot play today. I love the Dodgers as a pivot stack today. Ino is a guy that definitely strikes out people, but he's also a guy that gives up a lot of hard contact. And look at the Dodgers lineup. It's a team that has a ton of power. So I like Freddie if you want to pivot off of Hoskins. If you want to save some money, love Seth Brown. Tellis is down there as well. But there is one guy that kind of stands out that I don't think is going to get a ton of ownership today, and that's Luke Voit. We talked about the San Diego facing a young lefty. Luke Voit, very good numbers against lefties in his career. So if you're playing a lot of teams, I think he's someone that makes a ton of sense, because I do think you're going to end up on most of your builds with like McKinney and Seth Brown out in the outfield, unless you are using a lot of the outfield spot for Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos type plays. But I think first base is kind of straightforward today. I don't really see, like, if the weather wasn't really terrible, I could see maybe going to like a Choi, going up against Hendricks. But I don't want to play like Mountcastle. I don't want to play like Chavez or Trey Mancini. So I think first base is pretty straightforward.
As of right now, do you basically have nobody in that Tampa-Chicago game?
I faded that game completely. When you get weather games like that, I feel like there's so much stuff that like is going to have to go right for those guys to get there. Where I think there's just so much that could go wrong. I played baseball in Florida my whole life, and I got very fortunate as far as like weather. But I remember playing in days where it was like 40, 45 degrees, and it was absolutely miserable. I can't imagine it being like 25 degrees and playing baseball. If there are like snow flurries in this game, like Roth was saying, it's a potential. I don't understand why they just don't make this game up later in the year. But I guess it's kind of an interleague game, so it would be tougher. If this was like Cubs Brewers or something like that, I feel like Cubs Reds, like this is a no-brainer, postponed to a later date type game.
So Rendon was just scratched. The Angels' bad lineup just got worse.
Oh man, let's go.
Ohtani, Ward, Walsh, Stassi, Marsh, Mayfield. I think Mayfield's the new guy, right? Yeah, they added Mayfield in there, playing third base. Ohtani, man, he's like, it's like the Pulp Fiction gif. He's looking around like, who are these guys? Where's everybody? I'll tell you, by the way, Houston minus 150 as a bet. There's no Trout, there's no Rendon. Garcia looks good. I don't like laying that kind of juice, but I like the Astros. And maybe a little run line action. You like the run line, Andre? Is that something you dabble in?
I do sometimes. I don't even check it out. What is it right now?
Well, they're minus 150, but I bet you can get positive juice in the run line. And I think this is their home opener. Roof is open. It's like 80 degrees in Houston for what it's worth. I was just checking. I was playing a little. I think Houston wins this game. Come on, this is their home opener, right? I'm pretty sure it's their home opener. Or am I wrong in saying that?
You can get Astros minus 1.5 on DraftKings right now for plus 135.
Yeah,
you like it. I like that.
132 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Well, 130 plus 132 now.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think that
that
the Astros lineup is the better lineup today for sure. And, Garcia is the better pitcher than Lorenzen. And like Houston has a good bullpen. So I like Houston minus 1.5 now.
Andre, first base.
Pretty much everyone that Stevie mentioned, someone I liked a lot today. I like Daniel Vogelbach though, going against Lau today too as well. I think that he has a chance to just be good as a one-off or in a mini stack as a secondary, going with their Philadelphia Philly stack. And obviously, I like Max Muncy as well. I know we mentioned Freddie Freeman, but Max Muncy is someone else I think we should mention too. Pretty much almost anyone on any given day with the Dodgers lineup is good in my opinion. But yeah, those are guys I like, along with obviously Yuri Gurriel with Houston as well. So I know some targeting going against Lorenzen. I like the Houston stack a lot as well too today. And I don't mind, just to run it back on the Los Angeles side, I know we don't really like a lot of them because they do strike out heavy, but I don't mind Jared Walsh as a one-off just because he's going to be low owned. And if he hits a home run or two, that can just be maybe a difference maker in these lineups today, since everything's going to be condensed as far as ownership wise today.
Let's jump to second base. You mentioned Muncy, Andre. You can also play him at second. I think he's first base and second base, I believe. Second and third on DK. I think he's first and second on FanDuel. I don't have that in front of me. So Muncy, obviously versatility there. Turner on FanDuel, you can play him at second base. I think he's just shortstop eligible only on DK. Bryson Stott, a big prospect for the Phillies, is getting the start. He is batting 8th, 4.2 on DK. So they actually priced him up. I don't know how much he is on FanDuel. I got to pull that up, or if he's probably not even second base. Not really sure there. I want to throw it to you, Stevie. What do you have as far as second baseman?
I have way too much Tony Kemp now. Not something I expected to say this morning. But yeah, I have too much Tony Kemp. He's 3.6K. He's batting leadoff against what sets up is like a Baltimore bullpen game, and this bullpen stinks. So one of the reasons I like Oakland so much today is they got a bad opener potential like pitcher, and this bullpen is going to come in, and we're likely going to get like the bad end of the bullpen that's already bad. So Gavin Lux and Max Muncy, I've already kind of talked about how much I love the Dodgers today. Those are two guys that are kind of standing out to me. And then, I mean, on FanDuel, I think Brandon Lau at 3.5K is very playable. But I will say this, his ownership over there, it was like 25% this morning. And with this weather, I know the wind's blowing out to right, and that's fantastic. But if he's going to be 30% owned on FanDuel, there's so many other plays that you could potentially look at today, and just kind of hope that game does end up being like a 3-2, 3-1 type of game.
He's an awesome, like, prototypical hitter to face Kyle Hendricks with for what it's worth. Like,
Oh yeah, the spot is fantastic.
It's just that the ballpark stinks. And 30% is our currently projected own there on FanDuel, which is a pretty big number, higher than Turner. Turner, of course, a little bit more. What do you have here, Andre? So I asked Stevie, what are you kind of Xing out that Tampa Bay game as well, or not necessarily?
I definitely X out the Chicago side. I have a couple people in Tampa Bay, but I'm slowly but surely eliminating them because I'm thinking about just going to other options. I don't want to risk not getting that high of a score because of them. And if people like you said, Brandon Lau, I think it would be a good play against Hendricks today, but the weather is really concerning. I would be probably low on that number. So I'm probably going to end up just exiting the whole game out, fading it, and just taking chances on some other bets and some other games. Like I said, I do like the Pirates today. So Michael Chavez is another option for me. Kevin Newman is another option for me with the Pirates. Oakland, obviously, charting in the bottom half of the lineup. I like Sheldon Newings, I believe his last name is. If I pronounced that
I
correctly.
think it's noisy, but it's a tricky one.
Yeah, Tony Kemp at the top of the lineup. It's another good guy, another good hitter to target today as well. So and I also mentioned obviously Max Muncy, but Jose Altuve, another one for the Houston guys. I like them today. And if you do want to really get different, I don't know how much I would even play this, but going with like Ryan McMahon against Nola and going with some of these Colorado bats, Rogers as well. Those guys could be sneaky in tournaments too, because no one out there was going to really be on Colorado like that today. So if you believe in them and think that they can get to Nola, roster them.
We got Albies at 1% to 2%, which, I mean, switch hitter, better against lefties. Obviously, Kershaw's tough. Also on the road, decent chance of getting 5 at bats. I mean, look, again, that's not an elite play, but it's getting a really strong player at like no ownership on a 7-game slate. Just, think it's interesting, I suppose. All right. Hot corner, third base, Andre. What do we have as far as third?
Okay. Sorry. Third base. Third base. I'm gonna just skip over Philadelphia. Play anyone from Philly. I'm not gonna just gonna skip over that. Bregman, someone I like to get to a lot. I like Brian Hayes leading off today. Tyler. Why is Tyler Ward in my lineup?
Who's your lineup? Tyler Wade.
I mean, he is really cheap on FanDuel for what
he's a cheap option, yeah, but I'm not using him today. I just have to X him out. But you can if you want to get to him. If you like, I like Jake Cronenworth. I don't think anyone's really targeting also San Diego today. That's another one I think that could be interesting. Going with some of these San Diego bats like Manny Machado, I think it's a great one-offer in stacks. Cronenworth. I also like Kevin Smith in Oakland. Obviously use Justin Turner. I don't know if I mentioned Ryan McMahon before, but he's another good option. Those are some of the third basemen I'm going to try to roster today and be able to field on some of the guys that are low rolled.
Stevie?
Third base is a position that's kind of all over the place for me. I like Muncy, like I was talking about with second base. I think you could use him at third base. Bregman in Houston stacks. Turner and Dodgers stacks. And then outside of that, I mean, whoever kind of fits. Sheldon Noisy, like you guys were just talking about at second base, I think he's someone that's cheap that you could potentially play at third base, but there isn't like a slam dunk third baseman for me today. So it's a position that I have pretty spread out, and there's nothing that I like absolutely love. Chris Bryant, is he still third base eligible? He was going to be someone that was going to be potentially like really popular. And I think Bryant
outfield on DK, I believe. I think he's third base on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think he was going to be someone that like really helped spread out the ownership at third base because him being out of the lineup really changed things.
And then there's shortstop, especially in DK. It's tough to get the Turner. Of course, you can play some Trey Turner. Wander Franco also pretty expensive, not a great hitting environment, and otherwise it's kind of gross shortstop. I don't like it a lot. I think it's probably my least favorite position. I like Pena a little bit. I just trust the talent. I like the fact that the roof's open. You got those Crawford boxes down the left field line, very, very short distance to bang out some homers. You get some cheap homers if you pull it pretty good. I mean, Lorenzen's, I guess, okay, but I'm not buying his first start against, the Marlins. He was good, but I don't think that's real necessarily.
I can pitch good against the Marlins.
Especially if they keep batting Jazz ninth.
That lineup is...
What is that?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there. He was 6th the other day, so he's slowly creeping up. Andre, shortstop. I guess on FanDuel it's a little bit easier. You got Segura in that pool. You got Turner in that pool. Adames is really cheap over there. Stott seems way too cheap. How you feeling about shortstop?
Yeah, Segura is probably one of my favorite guys to get to today. I'm gonna probably be like well over on him. It's only coming in at 5% ownership. That's why I said attack the bottom half of this Phillies lineup. You could get different just with that. Stott too as well. Another guy that I think is a good option today. I do like getting to some of the other guys. Elvis Andrews as well is a good option. I don't mind Willie Adams today. I think he's good in the Milwaukee stacks, or even as a one-off today. I think he can work as two for you. And if you really, really do want to like try to get a little crazy, I guess, and go with Kyle Farmer, I don't mind it. 2.5K, cheap option going against Manaya. I think he has a potential to be a good one-off for in your stacks today, especially leading off.
How about yourself, Steven?
I mean, if you're paying up, Turner, Adames, and Adames, I think he's way too cheap on FanDuel. 3K. He was in he's in my lineup right now over there. I just play a one lineup on FanDuel. So I like Adames a lot on FanDuel. And then Elvis Andrus batting second now. He saves you some money over there on DraftKings at 3.3K. So again, you're going to hear me talk about Oakland a lot. They're a team that I really like. But I think if you're paying up at shortstop today, you're looking at Adames or Turner. Turner, he just gets it done in so many different potential ways. So he's always someone that needs to be on the top of your list if you're paying up at shortstop. Castillo, if you want to punt shortstop, he's batting fifth against Lauer. He's not my favorite option, but he's super cheap. So I think if you want to go that route, but I think the cheapest I'm looking at is probably Andrus today.
A reminder, Crunch Time is going to follow us about 15 minutes or so. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, two-time millionaire winner Dave Potts, Cheese is Good. You got Will from the Prop Shop talking tournaments as well. Take you guys, as long as you need to go. Lock now is 7:40, but they're going to go to probably 7:10, 7:15. As long as there's questions being fired in, they're happy to answer those. We're happy to answer your questions as well, too. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button and then ask a question. Feel free to ask, whatever is on your mind regarding the slate, overarching questions. It's still early in the season. If you have any general baseball strategy questions, happy to answer those as well as we're here for the next, 10, 15 minutes until we're relieved by the Crunch Time crew. Also, you can leave your questions in the live stream chat channel on the Rotogrinders.com/Discord. That is not a premium channel. It's a free channel. Dodgers lineup is out. Betts, Freeman, Trey Turner, Muncy, Justin Turner, Will Smith, Bellinger, Rios, and Lux. So looks pretty standard as far as the Dodgers. Is that every single lineup, guys? Have we got them all? I think so. Yes, good. Love that about baseball. All right. Outfield.
For what it's worth, really quick, because it is a position we've already covered, but Edwin Rios is 2,100 on DraftKings at first or third base. So could potentially open up some stuff. He does have power, big strikeout power type guy. So just someone I wanted to throw out there. He's 2.1K.
Who's lurking in that bench that can steal? He's the DH. I'm just trying to think who.
A lot of people.
Oh, Chris Taylor. That's who it is.
Yep. Taylor.
Trying to think who there. Yeah, Rios is a lefty. Taylor's
but Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta has a ton of lefties in the bullpen.
I have that too, right on cue. I was looking at this earlier. So the Braves bullpen currently has 1, 2, 3. They have 4: Will Smith, Newcomb, Matzik, and Minter. So they got 4 left.
I didn't know that Minter was in the bullpen. I knew they had 3.
And they're all fresh for what it's worth. None of them pitched yesterday.
And that lefty, I mean, the Dodgers lineup is pretty lefty heavy. It's hard not to play Freeman today.
Yeah, I mean, Freeman's always a good play. And if he's going to be kind of neglected on a 7-gamer, which I think he might be, right?
And he's a little pissed off that Atlanta didn't pay him. So I feel like he has a little bit of motivation today.
Dude, I totally forgot. This is the first blood revenge game. I didn't even realize that.
Come on, Dean.
I'm sleeping on the revenge.
He's going to hit his first home run tonight of the season.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Oh, man. Andre, do you care about revenge games in baseball?
Oh, well, I'm here for it. I don't know if I care about much, but I know how it feels, when people just don't want to pay you, especially when you've been part of a franchise for so long. Yeah, I can feel for that.
Do you know how that feels?
Oh, I don't know how that feels.
Oh, okay.
I wish
you have a career.
I had a career that nobody knew about.
I can't believe that
supposedly-
I pointed out a narrative street to you, Dean.
Yeah, my favorite one was McGill. McGill pitching tonight on the return of Better Call Saul. I don't know if you guys watch Better Call Saul. Slipping Jimmy.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a stretch.
You stretched it out. We went from Freddie Freeman going up against the Braves, who didn't want to pay him, to some random Dean thing.
Better Call Saul is not random. It's
listen, it is random, and it's 100% up your alley.
Andre, you aware of Better Call Saul? Do you watch the show?
No, I don't.
You've seen the gifs, maybe?
No, never really seen the gifs.
Really? You've heard of Breaking Bad?
I've heard of Breaking Bad, yes.
Oh, watch Breaking
Never
Bad.
watched the show.
Oh, come on. Get on it. I don't know what you're doing tonight, but consider firing
Don't
that
waste your time.
up. What? Don't waste your time with it. It's only like the greatest TV show of our generation.
Everyone has said it was good. I've heard nothing but good things about the show. I just haven't watched it myself. I don't know if I can get into that.
Oh man, if there's one thing I influenced you to consider playing some Aaron Nola, maybe. Like, forget that. I'm telling you, ignore that advice. Watch Breaking Bad. That's all. Put it on the list.
I'll watch one episode when I have some time off, and then I'll let you know how it goes.
Fair enough. Let me know. I'm happy to hear. I want to hear your feedback. The people in chat will let you know. I don't know. They'll tell you how good the Breaking Bad is. I imagine so. But all right, now I'm thrown off. I'm just completely distracted. I always wonder. I always want to like talk about random things with the Crunch Time crew. Like, in 10 minutes. That will bring up Breaking Bad. I mean, maybe it's just me. We'll get an overview. So see if anybody else can back me up on it. But let's talk about some outfielders. There's a lot of outfielders that play tonight, Andre. Especially Schwarber, especially Harper, especially Castellanos. You can play all three. I've heard Blender talk about like some of his rules, like he didn't like playing three outfielders in the same team because it boxes you out, of like every other outfielder. You know what I mean? Like in one lineup he's talking about, obviously, which is an interesting thought, I guess. Like there's somebody on some other team, you don't know who it is, that's going to hit 2 home runs probably or have a huge night. You can't get him in that lineup if you have three guys for Philly. Is that something you consider when running your stuff, or no? And just those guys are good and so be it.
No, I never actually have considered that, but I've never run into an issue with that either with my lineups. But that is a good. I like that thought a little bit, just because what the probability of all three outfielders hitting like a home run and having massive scores is probably slim, very slim. So I can see 2 out of the 3 doing it, but 3 of 3, that's really, really hard to get to. You must be a really bad pitcher. You let that happen. So you shouldn't be pitching in the MLB in the league after that game. But
can you power rank the Philly outfielders for me when you consider everything, ownership and like upside, and Castellanos versus Schwarber versus Harper, and then of course there's other outfielders playing too.
Yeah. Hold on, let me see. Sorry, I have to go to outfield. That was actually on no thing. Okay, so I'm going to say, oh wow, this is tough. I think you have to put Bryce Harper number 1. I guess I'm gonna. It has to be Kyle Schwarber because he's a lefty. Otherwise, I like Nick Castellanos. That's equally as much as Schwarber. And I don't even mind Veerling at the man batting 9th. I don't even mind him too. I think anyone can be rostered here from Philly, but I think that's how I rank it. That's what I would go with those. I also do like the Houston outfielders a lot too. Tucker, Brandt, and Lee Jordan, and even Jose Siri, who is going on their own, because that Angels bullpen is not even that strong either. So we could possibly see a couple home runs hit from there too.
Oh, Thad Young is expected to play tonight, apparently. That's a different sport, but I just happened to see that pop up. Our projection team gave him a projection, and I thought that he was doubtful. So there you go. Yeah. So Stevie, give me feel free to give your thoughts as far as Philadelphia, but there's a pile of other outfielders out there lurking. And I'm with Andre. I'm starting to think Houston's my favorite pivot team, because like the Dodgers are the pivot away from the chalk, but I think Houston's the pivot away from the pivot, maybe. And we're getting Alvarez back tonight and Tucker, and the roof is open. I think Houston's my second favorite team now.
I just did a fun, like one of my builds on DraftKings was like a Dodgers bottom of the order, Houston top of the order build. Came out. I like the lineup a lot. So, I mean, I think I go Harper, Schwarber as like top two options. Really like Kyle Tucker, Jordan Alvarez for Houston. I mean, I've said it multiple times. I'll say it one more time. I love Seth Brown tonight, 3.4K. I love McKinney at 2.6K. McKinney's batting fourth. I love their spots. I like Oakland a lot. I like them even more now that, some of these guys got ruled out and we get good lineup positions for some of these cheaper batters. So Michael Brantley, he should be low owned if you're looking at Houston. He's so consistent that like he'll get you those 10 to 15 fantasy points. And he's 4K. So love Michael Brantley. Outside of that, I mean, Yelich is getting a ton of ownership. And as much as I like the Brewers, I think I'm kind of pivoting off of them more and more to Houston and the Dodgers and Oakland, just because the Brewers are getting so much ownership. And I'm probably going to regret it. But I think if you're looking at Milwaukee, I think Renfroe might be a good pivot. He's going to be the low-owned Milwaukee play. Renfroe has power. It doesn't matter if it's a lefty or righty. He's someone that is always in play. And I mean, if you want to go against Kershaw, there's some cheap Braves, but I'm not in the business of wanting to do that. So I'm really kind of looking at the same outfielders. And to Blender's point, I typically do not like three outfielders from one team, but I think today is an exception. And maybe it's not. Maybe that this is a rule that he puts in place because of this scenario and it works out for him. But I think today with Castellanos, Harper, and Schwarber, they're three of the best hitters on the entire slate, not just on their, one team. And Castellanos is projected for 14% ownership. So that's just fantastic in itself that he's going to be the lower owns of the three. So, I mean, you can get your Phillies stacks different with just playing Castellanos over like a Schwarber. So, you could do something like that.
Oh, for those listening about basketball, Young not officially in or out. He's questionable. We just kind of added a projection for him. Same thing with Gary Trent. So if you're playing basketball tonight, do not assume Young is in or out. He's just questionable, and our projections team put him in because they had him out earlier, and they will adjust accordingly when more news comes out. Some stacks before we step aside, make way for the crunch time team. Padres stack. Let's play the stack game 1 through 5, Andre. 1, you hate it. 5, you love it. 3, somewhere, kind of in the middle. How do you feel about the Padres? What number would you put on them?
I'm going to say, so 1, we hate it, right?
Yeah, 1, you hate it. 5, you love it.
I'm going to say like 3.5.
Yeah, and everything considered, obviously, with ownership and yada, yada, yada. Like, of course, like Philly is a 5 stack, but like, when you had context. Stevie, as far as the Padres?
2, because I could see using them as like a secondary stack, but like realistically, looking at their numbers against left-handed pitching since the start of last season, there's not a ton of power here. Nola, who is crazy because he's a catcher, but he might have the highest hard hit rate and power numbers against left-handed pitching in this lineup.
Specific question for Stevie. Do you like Reynolds from Pittsburgh or Grichuk, regardless of price?
Probably. I mean, this person listens to the podcast.
You talked about both on the podcast?
No, everyone knows that I love Reynolds as a baseball player. I think he's very good. I'm taking Reynolds most of the time here and probably taking him here against Lauer. Lauer is someone that still gives up a lot of hard contact. So I think I'd go Reynolds. I love the batting. And this game, they're on the road. So, I mean, we're getting 4 at-bats from Reynolds here too.
All right. Andre, pick 3 of these 4. Real Muto, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber. Who do you leave out amongst the 4 big boppers on Philly?
Harper. Schwarber.
Yeah. And then there's how about amongst the Realmuto and Castellanos, who stays in the pool? They want 3 of the 4.
Oh, they want 3 of the 4.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't communicate that right.
See, 'cause I want to get see this the outfield thing. Then, God dog it. Well, you gotta get rid of outfield. So I'm gonna get rid of Castellanos.
Somebody's asking if we have interest in Kevin Newman. Myself, I don't. He's like a really poor man's Brantley. I don't like rostering Brantley. Brantley's a good baseball hitter, but like he's not a great DFS hitter. You guys like any Kevin Newman? I can't do it.
I have some Pittsburgh stats, so I'll have them in there, but not much.
You click the OIS button, the only in stack button.
Yeah.
For him, yeah, like he seems like a terrible one-off, like as a general thought. All right, and what else do we have as far as some people in chat saying that they do like they like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul? There you go. Goal people like that. Hendricks in play. Yeah, so Stevie, they're asking about Hendricks, and they're also asking about McClanahan. We've talked about how we don't love the hitters in that game, but I don't think I'm rostering Hendricks. Low
strikeout rate, really crappy weather. Tampa's a real high strikeout team. This lineup that's out there today is a real high strikeout team. If we didn't have as good a pitching as we do, I think then you could potentially play Hendricks. I think McClanahan is kind of playable, but I mean, the Cubs went very right-handed heavy against him today. There's no lefties in this lineup, so his numbers kind of dictate that he, probably wants a few lefties in there. His leash is kind of there, so I lean, like when we were talking about him, I had some interest, but I think I'm leaning more towards like an Aaron Nola to be different at pitcher than McClanahan because Nola is just getting no ownership and he's an elite pitcher.
The Cubs have some surprisingly good numbers on the plate IQ here against lefties. Good power. Obviously, the ballpark's going to subdue it to some degree. They don't strike out a ton. Yeah, I don't think I'm on a McClanahan. If I was running 150, maybe a pinch.
High walk rates too. The walk rates are with a pitcher that's kind of limited pitch count wise too. You don't want to see like 5 or 6 guys in the lineup with like walk rates in the double digits.
I mean, Suzuki's numbers are ridiculous. Obviously, it's a 14 bat sample with 700 ISO. Is walking at 28% clip, 14% as far as strikeouts. The WOBA's 560. Like, of course, that's going to come down. But like, yeah, he's bringing some respectability at least to that lineup. I don't think I'm on McClanahan, and it's not an ideal matchup necessarily. We should have Roth and Will. And I believe Dave Potts, Cheese is Good, knocking on the door momentarily. Give me some homers. Who's going to bang out some home runs? Stevie, give me 3 guys at 3 various price points that are going
I get to go first. So I'm taking Harper because I get to go first. Sorry, Dre. My middle home run is probably Adames, just to be different a little bit. And then I mean, it's well pointed out that like Seth Brown is my cheapie. I love Seth Brown today.
All right, Andre, see those and raise them.
What's considered high price? Like what price it up?
5.5. Yeah, well, I guess depends on depends on where you're shopping, right? FanDuel like 4K or higher, I guess.
Okay, so if it's 4K or higher, I like Segura as my high price, Freddie Freeman as my middle. And I'm gonna go off the board here with my low guy and go with Jose Siri. I like for him to hit a home run today.
It's funny. I like another cheapie on Houston. I like Pena. I was gonna take Jeremy Pena hitting right in front of Siri. As far as my cheap bat, let's have the rookie Stott for Philadelphia hitting one out. Not a ton of power. He's got a little bit, so we'll take Stott. And you know what? Oh man, I was gonna take Freeman because now I'm a sucker for the revenge nonsense, even though like it's kind of goofy in baseball because you can only get so many bats anyway. Did you hear about the Acuna thing? Supposedly him and Acuna didn't get along well, or I guess really? Freddie disrespected him when he was a rookie or something like. You know how like you treat rookies differently, and I guess Freddie said something about like where he was wearing eye black or something like that, and I don't know, man. Like every team has their own set of rules. Yeah. The Yankees, you can't have sideburns, whatever, a beard.
You gotta have clean shave.
Come on, man. What are we doing? Like, really? Like, does that matter?
The Yankees stink. Let's just be real. Let's just be honest. It's all about the Red Sox.
I mean, Oh, that's right. You guys are Yankees and Sox. I didn't realize we had that here. Go fight.
I think we know who's going to win the division this year.
Yeah, the Red Sox. It's
Toronto?
Probably Toronto. Yeah.
Probably Toronto both teams, but I like.
It'll probably be the Rays because that's how it is. But
yeah, as the Yankees could just pull it together, we'll be all right.
Let's bring in.
Crazy.
Oh, go ahead, Andre.
I'll say the odds are crazy for Jose Siri and Pena plus 800 plus 700 on Caesars to hit a home run.
I saw it was like DJ LeMahieu was at 14-1 the other day in Baltimore, and I may have said what the heck, let's fire away. I know a guy, but let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, Dave Potts, Cheese is Good, Will. Hey Roth, I was talking to producer Devin. I was thinking we should have some sort of fun little crossover game of some sort. We got to do something, and especially for slates like this with 7 gamers, where you can only say so much, and you have 40 minutes or so to go, whatever it is. Obviously, the time has changed. But we were trying to think of something on the fly. I might throw out my power rankings, and you guys can place. I don't know. We're gonna do something goofy, but came up organically in the show today. Can anybody vouch for Breaking Bad being a good series? Anybody like Breaking Bad?
It's such a terrible show.
Wait, what?
Yeah, this is what I'm up against.
Wait, you like that show, Kevin?
What the hell did I just walk into?
Must be like
likes that show.
No one likes that show, right?
Everyone loves Breaking Bad. No, it's fantastic.
It must be a South Florida thing.
It's a slow burn, but it just all of a sudden you get invested, and then it's just bizarre, heartbreak. And after every episode, you're panting. You're that was exhausting and it was traumatic, but I want more. So yes, I liked it.
Will?
I like Queen of the South. I'm watching that now for anyone that's in the show. This is a USA show, by the way, but
yeah, Queen of the South is a really good show.
Queen of the South. It's pretty good so far. I'm in season 2 for what it's worth.
Dave, you got anything on Queen of the South or Breaking Bad?
Saying you don't like Breaking Bad is like saying, well, I don't like Bryce Harper and Frankie Montas tonight. I mean, sure, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but it's fantastic. What are you even talking about? This is crazy.
Oh, gotta go fade those guys. Be right back.
How do you feel about kittens, Stevie? Do you hate kittens also?
I demise them. Yes, I know. Terrible.
Who hates kittens?
I don't like cats. I'm not a big cat guy.
That's right.
We're right.
Yeah. I'm leaving.
This idea of a mini game was a terrible idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. It was Dean. So you guys have fun. See you later.
Well, Roth, we're going to leave you. And you guys are, obviously lock has changed. You'll talk about all that kind of stuff. And you'll touch on anything going down weather-wise. To appreciate y'all watch us on YouTube. Hit that like button. We're going to seamlessly transition to crunch time, Wayne's World style.
That's good. I like that. All right, later, guys. Thank you for that, Dino. And now, officially, it is Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. Dean's still in, and he doesn't realize it. He thinks he's out, but he's still here. There he goes. All right. This is it. This is the show. This is the moment you've been waiting for. It is Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. It's glorious because it's free thanks to FanDuel. So if you are watching this on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button and give a big shout out to FanDuel as they are providing this content for you. If you haven't checked out the FanDuel 150K Monday MLB Squeeze contest, I love it. 30K to first, $4.44 to enter. That is some good stuff right there. You can also sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, new users get a risk-free bet up to $1K. And we've got a couple of the guys that can help you direct that 1K. One, as always, Mr. Dave Potts, aka Cheese is Good. What up, Cheese?
Hey. We got the Cadbury eggs, those chocolate eggs with cream filling. So everything is amazing. I don't understand every year, how do the bunnies do it? But they just keep doing it. And oh man, those are so good. It's unbelievable.
So there is some backlash on those. Some people think they're trash. I think
some people don't like Breaking Bad either, so I don't really care what some people think.
Chief, we got Chief here as well. Chief, first off, how you doing? And second, how do you feel about the Cadbury cream eggs?
First of all, I'm doing great. Secondly, I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm not a huge chocolate fan.
See, like sometimes, like you just stop before you even say the sentence out loud. I'm not a huge chocolate fan. Like, okay, just I mean, we love you, but like this is going too far already.
But what I'm saying, I'm not really into candy. So that's really what I mean. I don't mean like I don't like chocolate. Like I love hot chocolate. I like, chocolate on chocolate cake. Heck, I like Cocoa Puffs, but I'm not big into chocolate candy. Like everybody loves Snickers. I like Snickers, but like that's not my candy of choice. My candy of choice is actually gummy worms or Welch's fruit snacks. So I'm just not a big chocolate
like
candy
health
person.
candy.
Fruit
candy.
Literally,
yeah, fruit candy.
I came in 5 minutes ago, and I've learned that people don't like Breaking Bad, kittens, and candy.
Yeah, I know. Like I've learned so much that I never wanted to know.
Right.
I like it. That's not my candy of choice. And if you ask me at Christmas time, since we're kind of talking holidays and other random facts, one of my favorite things at Christmas time are the Dutch sweet cookies that you get in that tin can with all the sugar on top.
Yeah, those are legit.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And they got a nice crunch to them. They got a little bite to them. Yeah,
those Danish cookies, man. Yeah. My goodness, they're amazing.
Hey, guys, enough about sweets and cookies and chocolate and all that. The question is this slate going to be sweet? Cheese, we've lost 3 games. We've lost 3 games to terrible weather, and a 4th game looks like it will be played in terrible weather. How you feeling?
Yeah, it's okay. The problem with it was going to be a just really heavy chalk slate to begin with. Mm-hmm. Then you take off a couple games that had maybe a couple pivots, and it's like there's just some really incredibly obvious best plays, which is, I mean, it's fine. It is what it is, but it was a little better when we had. I'd rather have a few more games when we've got something that's as obvious as like this Phillies team tonight and a couple of the pitchers. Like that's when I would prefer it to be a bigger slate, so you have more options to get off of it. But hey, we have what we have, so we'll work through it.
Right, we have what we have, and right now what we have is 3 games postponed, as I mentioned, and then we've also got this Chicago game. All indications are that they're going to play. It's snowing right now in Chicago. It's 30-something degrees, and the feels like temperature's 20-something. It's truly, truly horrible baseball weather.
That's one of my favorite games on the slate.
Is it real? Oh, what is this notification? Every notification now, Andre Iguodala is doubtful. Every notification is going to be me terrified that they postponed this game.
He wasn't in any of my lineups anyway. What sport are we talking about? I turned off those notifications so long ago. I don't miss them. The NBA ones.
I should probably do that for NBA as well now that I'm doing baseball content. But the fact that they haven't postponed this game, all the other games got postponed. Everybody knows what they're getting into. They know what they're doing. They understand if they play this game, it's going to feel like it's 28. It's going to be windy. It's going to be snowing, and they haven't postponed it. And in fact, they released their starting lineup. Is that what it's called? Their starting lineup? That doesn't sound right.
That's exactly what it's called.
Is that really? Yeah. It sounds like
you nailed it.
Thanks. Their lineup sheet is that better? Their lineup card.
They did that. They do that too. That's the thing.
Too, yeah. And so, anyways, it seems like they are content to just play this game in crappy, horrible, miserable.
Oh yes,
Chicago weather.
Oh yes.
So that's what I'm going under the assumption is what is going to happen. I lowered the risk from yellow-orange to yellow-green, basically meaning I don't think it's ever going to snow hard enough to keep them from playing. There's a low chance of seeing a delay in this game from rain or snow, but mostly it's just going to be awful. Also, a low chance that we see some rain late in Oakland, but I don't think you should worry about that. Just do whatever you're going to do, and I'll worry about that. So that's where I'm at weather-wise. Cheese.
Kevin, I would say don't even worry about it. Just go to sleep when we're done here. You don't have to stay up till the second half of the Oakland game to see if it sprinkles.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate that because I was going to do it and I didn't want to do it. That sounds good. Another notification. Gary Trent Jr. now questionable. Okay, we're good. Still basketball notifications. Hey, let's talk about this baseball slate, which now has been pushed back. So generally, the show would have ended at 7:05 or whatever. Now we can go as short or as long as we want because lock isn't until whenever the first game.
Yeah, we got more than an hour now. Right. So
I just note we don't have to take that long. In fact, I'd be cool if we didn't. So, Cheese, let's talk about this slate in general. You said it was chalky, and I'm curious to what the chalk is.
Yeah. So before we go into positions, so like the big overarching question here is what you want to do with the Phillies. The Phillies in Coors Field. Just obvious chalk because it's the Phillies in Coors Field. On FanDuel, it's really not that hard to play 4 of them. It's not even remotely hard. Now DraftKings, it's not hard to play 5 of them. Like, you don't have to play them in every lineup. I'm not. I actually have less Phillies than I thought I was going to have. Like when I looked at the slate originally, I thought I'm going to have like 75% Philly stacks. As it turns out, as I'm building, I do like the Dodgers and the Astros and a few other kind of random things enough to stick with my original plan of the year. Like this whole, hey, this is what I'm doing this year. I'm not going over like 30-ish% on any batters. I do end up with a little more than that with like Bryce Harper on FanDuel, but I'm not. The thing about the Phillies, they've got these 5 really obvious bats at the top of the lineup, like super great elite hitters. They all could hit 2 home runs, but they're all pricey. You can't like do whatever you want if you're playing them, like whatever's going on in your water cup. You can't just do that.
I think this is the water cup that my wife was using to clean her paintbrushes. So
there you go. I would try a different one.
That was a poor choice. Sorry, continue.
And I'll also say, I don't think you have to full stack the Phillies to play the Phillies. Like any one of those top 5 guys could hit 3 home runs and the others just kind of, they do fine. If you're trying to make the lineup that's most likely to score the most points, it's going to have 4 Phillies on FanDuel and 5 Phillies on DraftKings. But there's a lot of other ways to go. And like I say, I ended up with less than I thought I was going to end up with.
Okay, well, let me kick this question over to Chief, as you know, he loves getting a little contrarian, doing some GPPs. Are you just going overweight on these Phillies, or are you going, this is baseball, and even the best plays can go 0 for 5 with 3 Ks, and so you don't want 80% of these dudes?
So let me just say that today is probably the biggest conundrum I've ever had with the Rockies or the Coors game. Because I don't know if you guys know, and I'm sure you do because I've said this many times, I typically just fade Coors altogether. Like I just don't play it at all. Most days because of the ownership and everything else. And I just got long-term data in my head that suggests that while they're going to have a few games that are like fireworks, long-term I'm going to come out better fading it every time. And that means full stacking, right? So on today's slate, because of, one game that's a bad weather game, and I'm going around the bush for a reason. You got one game that's a bad weather game, which I don't think we expect many runs in Tampa, Chicago tonight. Not many, 2 or 3. Let's hope. I hope it's that way. That's my favorite game because I'm all in on props on that game. A whole bunch of stuff for the pitchers anyway. That's why that's my favorite game. So I think Milwaukee's interesting. I think, but I don't feel like anybody's a slam dunk. And the Phillies do feel like a slam dunk today against Chad Kuhl in Coors. But I don't want to play them all. Like, I think Bryce Harper is probably at the top of everyone's list. And I think if we were all building lineups and not trying to all beat each other, we'd all probably have Montas and Harper in every lineup. Like that's my thought process behind it. We'd all probably want to play Kyle Schwarber. And then after that, probably Nick Castellanos, but I'm probably more in on a 3-man stack of Philly tonight than I am a 5. And that's just because I'm already Coors averse anyway. But I don't want to fade Harper, and I don't really want to fade Schwarber because, we get a guy that's semi-low strikeout tonight. Schwarber's fairly high strikeout long-term, but this is the spot he's supposed to hit a home run. So I think you play him. And you got Castellanos, who's just, a nice spot for righty power. And then I'm just kind of building around that. Like maybe when I leave off Schwarber and I take Segura, or I leave off Castellanos, and I take Schwarber and, Bryson Stott or something like that. Like that's kind of how I'm playing it. I don't think I'm full stacking completely at all.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Cheese, do you want to talk about some of these pitchers? I should add real quick that for those who are unaware, our expert survey, which is usually a premium product that we have, is actually free. So if you go to the MLB page on Rotogrinders today, you can go ahead and look at the expert survey. You can glean a lot of information. They talk about their favorite chalky plays, their least favorite, all kinds of good stuff. So go check that out if you have not seen that yet. Cheese, why don't you walk us through your game plan here with pitchers?
All right. So we've got, we'll do FanDuel first. We've got two little buckets of pitchers. So Clayton Kershaw is 11K. On FanDuel, like, you really just don't need to do it. I'm not like, you can always play Clayton Kershaw, like the best pitcher of the last decade, who, based on his first start, may be as good as ever, right? I mean, who knows? It's one start. Who knows, right? But that's the one guy that you can't just take him and stack whatever you want on FanDuel. I do think so Montas and Minaya project pretty similar to Kershaw, and they're over $1,000 cheaper. I think those are kind of your go-to guys. But if you want to really load up on bats on FanDuel, we're going to be looking at Eric Lauer and Louis Garcia. So that's kind of your two little groups. It's Montas, Minaya up here, and then Garcia, Lauer. If you're looking to do like the Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos stack with like a couple Dodgers or something, or a couple Astros, then you're playing Garcia or Lauer. I think Lauer comes in slightly ahead of Garcia with ownership, but it'll be close enough. I don't think it really matters. Personally, I prefer Garcia, but it's very close. And same thing with Montas Minaya. It's extremely close. I slightly prefer Montas, as I think the field will, but those are both 50-50s for me. I'm mixing and matching those guys. And that's really, you can do Shane McClanahan on FanDuel as well. He's a little bit cheaper than Minaya Montas, but he's a little more of a DraftKings discussion. So that's really my whole pool on FanDuel. If you're doing something cheap, like if you're doing like a Brewers A's double stack or something, and you just have money sitting around, I mean, play Kershaw. But I don't think you need to plan your lineup around getting up to an 11K pitcher.
Okay. Chief, you doing anything different at pitcher? What's your plan? You said you like the Chicago game, it seems.
Yeah, I like it more for props. I just think they came in a little bit too low for the weather. Like, as an example, they've only got Kyle Hendricks. His line is set at 14.5 pitch outs. I don't think there's any way Kyle Hendricks doesn't go at least 5 innings tonight in this weather. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's just the read. So I think for props sake, it's a really good spot for some props there. In terms of pitching from the GPP side, I'm not all in on Montas, but he's still at the top of my list. He's also probably pretty chalky. I think where I'm going to differentiate a little bit is I'm going to call this the Kyle Wright effect, and I am going to play some Michael Lorenzen today, just in case. And it's the same reason I played Kyle Wright a few weeks ago. And if you've read Cheese's article today, he gave a really good campfire story about how things were set up from camp to now, and like when they were supposed to start in February versus March versus now. And so I think the specifics, Cheese, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're about 6 weeks out from camp or from where they started. I think that's about where we are now. Is that right?
Yeah. So based on when they actually started, what would be opening day on a regular schedule would be later this week.
Right. So my point is, I think some of these, let's call it upside lower tier pitchers, might have a little bit more upside for another week. And then maybe they start to normalize and maybe get shelved a little bit. And that's not pure data. That's just me saying, hey, Kyle Wright comes out, has a good start. Maybe guys are a little bit behind on the timing because they can go through full spring training. Then he comes out again, has another full start. They got a little bit more tape on him now. Maybe they watch and they say, okay, we picked this up. And so that's the same approach I'm going to take with Lorenzen against the Astros tonight. Perhaps he's got one or two more really good starts in him. And I know he's 8,200 and it's a little bit risky because he's facing Houston. I am going to take the risk in tournaments because he's a little bit cheaper than Montas, and I can squeeze one extra big name bat in, if you will, versus having to play kind of my 3-man stack, and then kind of mix and match all over the place. So that's my theory behind Lorenzen. So you just need to go read Cheese's article if you want to get the particulars, because he's already spelled that part out. And then, of course, you got the Dodgers who, all in all, I mean, we're going to get Max Muncy tonight at oh, no, never mind. We're talking about pitchers. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. But that's kind of my thought process behind it with Lorenzen. And then in a normal sense, I would have played Aaron Nola, but he just hasn't looked great to start. So I'm going to hold off, but he would have been a nice leverage play for me. Darren Coors along with his bats, especially if he's going to get the win. And I do wish McClanahan was a little bit cheaper on FanDuel. Strikeouts I do think will be there. Can he go past 5 innings? I don't know, but he might get 8 Ks in 5 innings and still be fine. So that's my read on pitching.
Okay, excellent. Let's talk about some of these backs. Cheese, you can lead us off there in general, or you already mentioned some of the teams you like as pivots off of the chalky Phillies. So you can just go into catcher if you'd like.
Yeah, we'll just do positions. So on FanDuel, catcher / first base, it's 3 Phillies: Schwarber, Hoskins, Realmuto. I don't think Realmuto will be sneaky by any means, but certainly amongst the top 5 Phillies, he should be the lowest owned, just because he's a catcher and it's FanDuel and you don't have to play him, and he's more expensive than Hoskins. The Dodgers, we're going to talk a lot about the Dodgers probably. And again, like, sneaky is not the right word. I mean, they might be the next most popular thing to the Phillies, except we're still probably looking at 15% at the most on these guys. So like Freeman and Muncy, I like a lot. The cheap guy, cheap guys are more valuable on DraftKings tonight. But Rowdy Tellez is kind of always there. Luke Voigt is kind of interesting. I guess you could also play Alec Baum at first, although I think he's much better at third. And then another team that is going to be sneaky / not sneaky is some cheap Oakland bats here and there, just as fill-ins, like Seth Brown. A little better, again, on DraftKings where you need the cheap guys, but he's fine. But basically play Phillies.
Okay.
Or Dodgers.
Easy enough. Chief, you got anything different, or play Phillies?
Well, I like – the thing is we can get Max Muncy at first and second. So I like him a great deal tonight. I think last I checked, we had ownership coming in on him at around 11%, I think, which is, in my opinion, fairly low for this slate. So I like him a lot.
Okay. Take us to first base.
Oh, and Luke Voigt as well at 2,900, facing lefty. I mean, the ISO numbers aren't there per se over the past couple seasons, but I think he's got a shot to have a good night.
Okay. That was first, right? That was
your
first. Okay. So take us to second base.
Yeah, second base, I think it's going to be something of a similar variety where, I don't want to play Gene Segura at 4K on FanDuel, but it may be a necessary evil. I can get Muncy at second as well. And then like Cheese talked about, you've got this random collection of Oakland players who are all like under 3K. Like I don't know if I've seen this on FanDuel ever or in a very long time. But you got Tony Kemp leading off, who may seem to be very uninspiring. I think he's probably in a good spot here. He's got a little bit of pop, got a chance to score a few runs. So I like him as well. I don't want us to forget the Rocky side. Like I said, Aaron Nola is a great pitcher, but I don't mind a little bit of Ryan McMahon on the other side. I can get him at second. All right, 3,900. As much as I like Lorenzen, I don't mind a Jose Altuve one-off at 3,400. Like I like Lorenzen tonight, but once again, you get Colton Wong leading off against Zach Thompson at 2,600. I think and I'm avoiding the Cubs Rays altogether. So I'm kind of about a 4-game pool of players that I'm looking at. And so, Wong and those other cheap guys are kind of where I'm going to be.
Okay. Cheese.
Okay. So here's where I'm never sure exactly what to say and how to say it. I think our projected ownership is way off at second base. We're showing Brandon Lau at 25% and Max Muncy at 13%. I think they're flipped.
Yeah, no way.
The reason I went and tagged Brandon Lau this morning is because I thought no one was going to play him, and I still think no one's going to play him. If you think that Lau is chalk and Muncy is not, then definitely play Muncy ahead of Lau, no question. But I think that's flipped. I think Muncy will be the chalk second baseman. And I do still like Brandon Lau. I'm not afraid of playing a couple bats in that weather. I think the wind balances out the cold enough. And Kyle Hendricks he has nothing left. He's throwing 85 miles an hour straight down the middle and or way off to the side. Like he has no idea what's happening anymore. Like he's done. I really think he's done. So I'm still fine with a couple raised bats. Trey Turner, you're probably playing it short. This is the one spot where if you want to get different with Phillies, you overpay for Segura instead of playing one of the big outfielders or something. And in that case, what you're playing for is them to score, 14 runs with just a couple homers. If you're playing for them to hit the 5 home runs, then Segura is not the guy you want. But I can see this as being a slate where there's not a bunch of home runs, but the Phillies end up just hitting, 25 hits and 14 runs. And then guys like Segura are valuable.
Okay.
But mostly Lau and Muncy are my 2 favorites here.
Okay. Let's take it to third base.
This is another spot where the Phillies guys are down the board. We're talking Alec Boehm and Bryson Stott. They're not among your first 5 or 6 Phillies in. So that makes me like Bregman and Machado. Machado's pretty pricey on FanDuel. I think the ownership, I agree with that here. It should get spread out. Like there's no real obvious third base chalk. Justin Turner, I like. I like all the Dodgers. Cabrian Hayes is kind of expensive-ish for what he is, but I do like Hayes and Reynolds for the Pirates. Basically, it's not a super strong position today. I like Machado and Bregman the best.
Okay, Chief.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same category. It's slim pickings out there. I think if you want to get a little dicey, you can take Austin Riley against Kershaw. Like Kershaw could still give up a home run or 2. His first start out the gate was, I don't think we've seen that Kershaw since 2000. He's been hurt the past 2 or 3 seasons, man. Maybe since 2017-ish.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And like I don't know what to think. Like his velocity was down like noticeably on every pitch, which is weird to see the strikeout. Like it's one thing that nobody got on base, that I don't ever expect anyone to get on base against him, but the strikeouts with that velocity, like something, I don't know. I'm not sure where it's going from here.
Yeah, me either. But Austin Riley, I do think as a one-off, he's very low owned. That's just kind of where I'd be if I wanted to kind of play at third base. He's overpriced maybe for the slate to where nobody's going to play him, and that makes me very intrigued for tournaments.
All right, shortstop, Chief.
Yeah, shortstop. Give me as much Trey Turner as I can handle, and I really mean that. I think he's got a really good shot to have a huge night here. The whole team really. I just think this is a good spot. Also at shortstop, we got Brendan Rodgers. I know I haven't talked much about the Rockies overall, but I do like him. Just trying to find ways to get a little bit different from the Philly side. And equally, I do still like Gene Segura and Bryson Stott. Like I don't think there's any reason to fade those guys. I know Cronenworth's a lefty. Don't care. Just trying to find ways to get different. And there was one other one. I always forget. Who was it? I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Oh yeah. Kevin Smith here at 2,100. I think if you start liking the A's a little bit in this spot, you got Andrus as well at 2,800. The A's are very cheap. I think you can just mix and match those guys. I'm not stacking them completely, but I am one-offing a few of these guys just to try to, keep trading fantasy points while the Phillies keep scoring.
Okay, Cheese.
Yeah, Trey Turner is like really far ahead of the field at shortstop. I like the Dodgers enough. I think you can go bottom of the order with Lux as well. And then, yeah, I mean, the Phillies, there's just nothing here. This is a really dead position outside of Trey Turner.
Okay, well, let's go to the
If
outfield.
Correa was
Never
still
a
in
dead
Houston,
position.
he'd probably play him today, but he's gone.
Yeah.
Outfield, Cheese.
So here we're back to the Phillies. Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos. That's just the very obvious chalk. The best plays, the most likely to score the most points. However, this is the spot where the Phillies could do what the Phillies are supposed to do, and they could still get beat by like Ohtani, Betts, Alvarez, and Tucker. There's plenty of high-end outfielders. If you don't have to think the Phillies are going to fail to say you're going to do something different in the outfield. To me, Ohtani's the first guy in, followed by Alvarez and Tucker, and then followed by Betts. On FanDuel, I do think you're mostly spending up in the outfield. There's plenty of cheap guys, but the difference between cheap and expensive is like $1,000. It's not that much.
Mm-hmm.
You're only paying $3,500 for Schwarber. That $3,500 for Kyle Tucker. Like that stuff is too cheap to mess around with, the $2,500 guys who are just clearly worse. Some guys closer to the 3K range are, like Hunter Renfroe and Brian Reynolds interests me a little bit. Cody Bellinger. On DraftKings, the guys like Seth Brown and Billy McKinney are much more interesting, where you're saving like $2,000. But I really think you want to spend up as much as you can on FanDuel in the outfield.
Okay, makes sense. Chief, what are you doing in the outfield?
Same thing Cheese is doing. I mean, almost to the T. I thought I was going to be able to, squeeze in a little bit of Brian Reynolds talk, even though his ISO very low against this fastball. But I mean, it's kind of because of the slate, it kind of dictates where we go, and spinning up is definitely the way to go. Like I wouldn't skim on the outfield tonight. I'd skim it, which is crazy. I'd skim at pitching before I skimmed on the outfield tonight, for what it's worth. Like play Eric Lauer or something, but don't not, especially in cash. And I don't really play cash, but just don't fade Harper. Don't play cash, because as soon as they hit a home run, you're going to be kicking yourself saying, "Oh, I knew it," and we know it. So sometimes you eat the chalk, and then we get different other places.
Okay. Yep. Stuff. Guys, that is it as far as position by positions. Cheese, is there anything else you want to throw in here before we take a few questions and log out for the night?
No, I mean, the Phillies are obvious for a reason. The Dodgers are second in line and obvious for a reason. And then you're just kind of picking some random things to go cheap. And that's just what you got. We just don't have that much on this slate.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. If you guys have questions, get them in now, because once the questions stop coming, we're going to bounce, because, lock isn't for quite some time here. So let's get
going to bounce. What does that mean? Oh, we're going to leave. That's some, yeah, that's some hip talk from you.
It's
there.
the cool hip lingo. I've got kids now, so I'm cool. They're not yet two, but they keep me young. They keep me cool. Let's see. Let's get some of these Q2s here. Jay says, "Hey, Cheese, in a DK single entry, I'm stacking the Dodgers with a mini stack of Colorado. Is that viable, sir?"
It's certainly viable. I don't love a Colorado mini stack myself in single entry, but I mean, it's still in Coors Field. So, I mean, yes, I wouldn't talk you out of it. I would just tell you that's not something that I'm doing in a single entry personally.
A lot of people are saying, wait, no DK. To be clear, everything that we've gone over was both FanDuel and DK.
We didn't really specifically touch on the pitching differences on DK.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Let's start with that. But as far as all the hitters go, all the plays, that was not FanDuel specific, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But yeah, pitching wise, I guess we kind of skipped over it because it is a little bit different. Basically on DraftKings, Montas will be the most popular pitcher we've seen all year by far. Like in high stakes single entry, he'll be 80, 90% owned probably. he's too cheap. It's silly. When we had Alex Cobb on the slate, we had kind of a natural pivot. You can get up to Shane McClanahan, who I like. You could, if you care about the weather that much, you could go down to Kyle Hendricks. But yeah, Montas is just too cheap, and it's silly. Where it's most interesting to me is I'm not sure anyone's really playing the best pitcher of the last decade who just threw 7 inning perfect game with 13 strikeouts at 10-3. Like, you kind of need the money enough that Manaea Montas is probably the more popular combo, but Clayton Kershaw at 10-3, when he may be pitching as good as ever, which is to say arguably best pitcher of all time, like not even kidding. I mean, why? I guess I don't know why we, including myself, are not playing more of him. And the reason is like that $1,000 or $1,200 drop between him and Manaea is very useful with the bats. But if you have money, I would still play Kershaw, Kershaw Montas before I play Kershaw Manaea. I do like McClanahan at 81. And then where I need to mess around with really cheap pitchers to do like the load up, I'm playing Nick Lodolo again. And I'm playing Zach Thompson simply because he's 5,400 and there's no one else in that price range.
Okay. Chief, anything you want to add in there at DK pitchers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't pull out the lock button at pitching a lot or baseball a lot, but Montas is probably about as close to a lock as you're going to get. I think Cheese said it best all season. Like, I mean, I feel like he goes for at least 20 fantasy points here. And so at 7,300, I think he's a lock button. Facing the Orioles, who, are a fairly high strikeout team continuing this season. I like it a lot. I've talked about Michael Lorenzen, and I think this is where it gets really even more interesting on DK. You can get really creative if you just run Lorenzen and Montas together. It's just Lorenzen is not safe, and I'm telling you that right now. He's not completely safe. But if he's able to pull off another immaculate start and he goes for 20-plus fantasy points, and you've got the Phillies and they do what they're supposed to do, at the end of the night, I'm telling you, you'll be close to the top of the leaderboards, if not right there. I mean, you should be top 50 at least. And top 50 is kind of, it's stupid because the payouts are terrible. But let's get you to top 10. But that's how I feel about it. I'm actually less high, I think, on Manaea than everybody else. As you can see, I haven't really talked about him a lot. But I think Montas is a better play tonight. And I mean, Cincinnati is some great team. But I would be playing Kershaw over Manaea tonight if it were me.
Okay, excellent. Let's go ahead and get into these QQs here. And if anybody has any other questions, fire them in. Okay, Achilles, DK Cash, Cheese, Andrews, or Pena, last man in? I
guess Andrus.
Okay.
And I will say it is okay. You can either get to Trey Turner or you may as well just punt at shortstop. So I'm totally fine with that.
Okay. Mlb Dfs says FanDuel third base. Any interest in Taylor Ward? Chief?
I mean, I don't hate it. I don't think it's the best play, but if you got to get different, go ahead.
Okay. DKGPP. Let's see. Would you stack the Rockies-Phillies game with cheap pitchers and value plays? Cheese?
Sure. Yeah. So the Rockies is just, you can always stack any team in course, and that the Rockies are in course tonight. To me, like, they're far enough down my list that, like, I have like one Rocky stack on DraftKings and like two on FanDuel. I just prefer the Dodgers and the Astros and even the Padres and kind of the Brewers. But of course you could do it. They're playing in course.
Sure. Okay. BHP says we didn't mention catcher. We did go through catcher first base, but specifically DK catcher. Cheese, would you mind walking us through that real fast?
I mean, if you have money, it's very obviously Real Muto. Like, he kind of like with Trey Turner at shortstop. Like, he's the only guy up there. He's all by himself. Austin Nola is kind of the very obvious salary saver. He's 2,000 less than Real Muto. I think he would probably be the cash game guy if you can't get to Real Muto. I like Will Smith. And other than that, you're just playing something in your stack or punting. Like Narvaez is okay. I think Tyler Stevenson is okay. But it's pretty much Real Muto and then Nola, and then you're just goofing around.
Okay, great. DK Cash, Chief, you want Segura or Muncy?
Muncy.
Steve says, I need one good bat, sub 4K.
Site?
Didn't say.
I'll assume DraftKings, FanDuel, they're mostly sub 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just do the sort and see what
one good bat
jumps. So what's interesting about DraftKings, like it's really barbell tonight. Like the high end is fantastic, and then the mid tier is kind of blah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I don't really love spending like in that 4K ish range. I would say Justin Turner probably stands out, or Alec Boehm at third. Otherwise, I think you're saving money going to like one of the Oakland guys or one of the cheap Dodgers guys. Like I like Seth Brown, I like Lux and Bellinger.
Okay, excellent. Sherman's Tanks, FanDuel Cash, Otani or Casti, Chief?
Otani.
GD says, are they
no, sorry, Castellanos. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking Stassi. I don't know why. Yeah. Clearly Castellanos today.
Okay. All right. GD says, are the bottom four batters in the Dodgers lineup okay with some power bats from Philly, Cheese, and a DKGPP?
Yeah, I think they're more than okay. I think that's probably my favorite build.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Falcor says, pick one, Dodgers or Astros on FanDuel as a stack. Chief?
Dodgers.
Steve O says, am I trying to get too cute to sneak across with Spencer Watkins, hoping for some BABIP and huge stadium luck in DKGPPs?
Yes. My bad. Sorry.
Say what?
I'd rather Chief say something mean rather than me.
So
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Don't play Spencer Watkins today.
Okay.
It's totally unnecessary.
He is like quite possibly the worst pitcher in the league. Like Zach Thompson is a way better.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It's Cheese. God, get out of my. I was literally going to say just play Zach Thompson. Like if you want to go that cheap.
Okay.
Man.
Okay, great. J Sam's FanDuel single entry. Cheese, since shortstop isn't all that inspiring, would you mind playing Jeremy Pena if also playing Tucker and Alvarez? Thank you.
I do not mind that at all. I've definitely done that in a couple of lineups that have even just one more Astro.
Okay. Cheese, you got a shout out to your premium dart musings in today's article.
I'm just glad someone read that. Some days I just sit there and I just pretty much like, why am I typing this? Why am I typing this? And then I just laugh out loud for a while. And then I think probably no one's even reading this. And if they are, they're like, what is happening? And then they skip over it. I'm glad somebody enjoyed that.
There you go. See,
Thank
makes
you.
it all worth it. Now you can do it again in the future, knowing someone will enjoy
Yes.
it. Jay says, does Roth know what an immaculate inning is? Question of the night. It's got to be getting people out, throwing only strikes, or maybe only 3 pitches. But that it almost seems better to do it in like 9 pitches. I'm guessing it's 9 pitches and 3 strikeouts.
You got it. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Let's go.
And so Nestor Cortez, the Yankees guy, did that against the Orioles. So
listen,
yeah,
I was all over Nestor yesterday, and man, oh, did that work out? Wow.
I think I had an immaculate inning.
And looking at that, like Nestor Cortez is talented, but like that's why Montas chalk is good chalk.
Yeah.
Like this Orioles team is like just filled with high strikeout batters with no power.
Okay. I am stoked for this new kid in Japan who is just having immaculate games. Have you heard about this kid, Cheese?
I have not been paying attention to Japanese baseball this year.
Holy smokes, you should be. There's this guy going out there and he's just throwing almost complete games. He's going like 8 innings, 18 strikeouts, just mashing 102 mile per hour fastball, got a sinker that just drops off the table. I mean,
is this
guy,
literal? Are you literal with 8 innings, 18 strikeouts?
Yes, I'm literally did that. He had 8 perfect innings, and then they pulled him and didn't give him the complete game. And then the next rotation, which was today, he had I think he went 7 perfect innings and struck out 14 or something insane.
Throwing 102 in Japan is that's impressive anywhere, but I will look that up.
Yes, yeah. He's like the next Ohtani. And I'm not just saying that because Ohtani was from Japan also, but he's amazing. I guess I am saying it because
does he hit?
He doesn't hit, so he's not the next Ohtani.
Okay, so he's just a straight up pitcher.
He's just
which
the next Ohtani
sense.
was a terrible comparison. Other than that, they're both were running in Japan.
Because 9 times out of 10, when the pitchers come over from Japan, they're more elite control guys. They're rarely big strikeout guys. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. But this guy's got it. Okay. I was about to tell you guys to go lightning round, and then I babbled for 3 minutes. So now we should do lightning round. Achilles, rank these outfielders in DK Cash. Cheese, Grichuk, Brown, McKinney, Belly. In fact, he says Grichuk, Brown, or McKinney, Belly. So maybe just take it as a 2v2.
For whatever it's worth, I go Brown and Belly. Those are the 2 I like.
Okay. All right. Pick one, Dodgers or Astros. I think we did that already. I don't remember what it was.
I like the Dodgers.
Okay, there you go. DKGDP, any interest in Garcia with that horrible Angels lineup?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. BHB, DK Cash, Tellez, Casti, or Hoskins, Grichuk?
Oh, that's a good one. I like the Tellez side.
FanDuel GPP, can you go contrarian? It said, can you go contrary? I was like, something's wrong there. Can you go contrarian at short with Segura? He's second base short on FanDuel. Interesting question.
I don't think he's going to be that sneaky at short for what it's worth, especially since most people may want to play Max Muncy at second on FanDuel. So I don't think he's going to be sneaky. I think you're more sneaky playing Bryson Stott at short.
Okay. Cheese, can I get a quick rundown on Stott?
Yes. He only has 50 at bats above AA, which is the problem, which makes it hard to give you anything. A big batting average guy, he walked a lot. He struck out around average, but really good patience, fair power, fair speed, kind of good at everything, very good all around player. But again, it's a very good all around player at AA. So who knows what a 300 hitter at AA is. I think he's probably going to be kind of struggle. I kind of just like him on nights like this, when he's just going to be on a team that just bats around and around, and he should put the bat on the ball and or take a walk if they give it to him. So probably better real life than fantasy player at this point.
Right. And you're not even certain he's going to be particularly good real life either.
Yeah. He'll get there. I don't know if he's going to be there immediately.
Yeah. Okay. We got a couple minutes left here until 6:15 and that, or 7:15. That seems like a good time to, so let's lightning around this. Sub 4K outfielder, last man in. Chief, who's going to dong? DK single entry, 4K. Yeah, who's going to dong?
Sub 4K. I feel like I should know this, especially since we were in lightning round. Man. Give me Cody Bellinger at 3,100. I think that's a good call.
All right. Amateur Hour says, hey, Nola at center. Any good for higher dollar GPPs, Cheese?
At center? He's not tall enough.
I hate when I do that. Always it takes me a few weeks from basketball season to baseball where I see that C. Yeah. Just assume center. Sorry.
No, Nola's the second best pitcher, catcher, center on the slate. Second best catcher on the slate. Yeah, he is good.
Okay. MB DK Cash, is Walls or Arcia good value at short? Cheap Walls or Arcia? DK Cash.
Either are fine. I mean, shortstop's awful, so just pick one. I'm not trying to be insensitive either. Shortstop really is bad. If you're not playing Trey Turner, it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. J Sam's FanDuel single entry. Do you mind a Chavis Hayes mini stack? And then he has vomit face emojis to differentiate your lineup if you're playing Phillies. Cheese?
I like the Pirates mini stack.
Great. Okay. Aside, FanDuel Cash, Lauer, or stick with Montas and Manaya?
Cash, I think I just go Montas.
Okay. This is a strategy question. DK GPP from DY. Regardless of position, if you have a player with a higher projection batting at the bottom of the order versus a player with a lower projection but batting in the top half, which is the better play? Of course, the actual numbers here would matter because higher and lower are pretty subjective. But let's pretend it's close, Cheese.
So the way I'll answer that is say, I don't actually use the projection, but essentially it comes out the same way. If you're using projection to decide who the better player is, I play whoever the better player with the better matchup is, regardless of where they hit in the order.
Okay. Do projections take into account amount of times that you would?
The projections take the batting order spot into account. Yes.
Okay. So then there you have it. Okay.
So theoretically, if you're going by projection, the guys in lower in the order are actually better matchup wise. Like if a guy hitting 8th is projected for 7th, if he was hitting 2nd, he'd be projected for an extra point.
Right. Gotcha. More FanDuel Cash 2v2. Yelly Belly. if you don't play Yelly Belly, there's something wrong with you, man. Yelly Belly or Yordong McKinney. FanDuel Cash. Cheese, don't let me down.
What's awesome is like 3 of those 4 names are just like not even real names yet. We all know exactly who he's talking about.
Right.
I actually sadly prefer Yordong McKinney.
Oh, I hate it.
Really?
Yeah.
That would caught me off guard there, Chief, but I get it. Like Jordan's in a good spot, McKinney's I get it. Spencer Watkins is the deal breaker.
Yeah, like he's that bad.
I get it.
Play Yelly Belly, you won't regret it. No matter what goes wrong, you can at the end of the night, you're like, at least I played Yelly Belly.
Roth has had a Yelly Belly with that hot beer, but you
I don't know why that got me, but that made me laugh. All right. DK Cash. Muncy Pena or Segura Andrews. I could swap Andrews to Lux, but I don't love the batting order.
Muncy Pena.
And bad. T Kemp or Willie Myers, FanDuel Cash last piece.
T Kemp.
Cheese, the guy's name I'm talking about is Roki Sasaki.
Gotcha.
OKI.
I'm definitely gonna look that up tonight. Probably watch a little tape.
Yeah, he's just been crushing. And if you look at Pitching Ninja, they've got like kind of a breakdown of what he's been doing. Which, by the way, if you don't follow Pitching Ninja on Twitter, you should. It's phenomenal. FanDuel Cash 2v2, Pena Casti or Trey Turner Yelich.
Give me Trey Turner Yelich on that one.
Kid Lightning, DKGPP, Cheese, Bregman.
I like Bregman a lot. Yes.
Okay. I just don't know why Bregman's involved because the 3v3 is, I guess Bregman is already in. The 3v3 is maybe, okay. I think I've got it. Bregman, Brantley, Brown, or McMahon, Otani, Profar.
I like 2 guys on each side. McMahon, Otani, Profar.
Okay, great. We're gonna take 3 more questions and then get out of here because I'm late. I'm in trouble. Achilles, DK Cash, 3v3. Hoskins, Baum, Hilliard, or Tellez, Muncy, Belly. Chief, Hoskins, Baum, Hilliard, or Tellez, Muncy, Belly.
Hoskins, Baum, Hilliard, or Tellez. Repeat that one more time.
Hoskins, Baum, Hilliard, or Tellez, Muncy, Belly.
I think Tellez, Muncy, Belly is better overall.
Okay. All
yeah.
Right. McKinney versus Profar, high dollar DKGPPs.
I prefer McKinney.
Roto 2, a DK Cash, Andrews, Yelich, or Wells Betts?
Wells Betts.
FanDuel Cash 2v2, Ward Elvis, or Bomb Kevin Smith? Kevin Smith.
Plays for Oakland.
Ward Elvis or bomb Kevin Smith?
I would go Bomb Smith.
Jay Sam's Cheese. You have any idea about the righties BP tonight? Is it full of lefties, right? Oh, that'd be bullpen. Full of lefties, righties.
The Rockies only have one lefty reliever, period. Like they're a very right-handed heavy bullpen, which is part of why Harper and Schwarber are such mega chalk and good mega chalk.
Okay. That seems like a horrible planning on their part. Like, I don't know much about baseball, but I'm pretty sure it'd have more than one left-handed reliever.
I think they'll have two eventually. Last year they had zero for a big part of the season.
That just seems dumb.
I agree. Yeah, you're not wrong. And you know what? They don't do well at the baseball. So
there you have it. DK Cash, Tellez Arcia or Bethencourt and Diego Castillo. Are these real names?
Like, not only is it a real name, he's hitting either fourth or fifth in the lineup.
Yeah. Bethencourt also plays for Oakland, bro.
Okay. I don't know anyone who plays for Oakland, apparently. Tellez Arcia or Bethencourt Castillo, Chief?
The Tellez version.
Cheese, your favorite low-owned stack in a DK GPP? Oh, no, please.
Not counting the Dodgers as low, I would say Houston.
Home run call of the night, Chief.
God, this is gonna be so easy, but Bryce Harper.
That works.
Wow.
Nothing wrong with that. Profar McKinney. Have we not done this one? Profar McKinney?
We have. I prefer McKinney.
There you go. Red Sox. You like a Braves 3-man as a way to be different, or would a Braves 1-off be better?
1-off.
1-off. And then Falcor, last question. We got it. Whew, we made it. On FanDuel, would you fade Philly and double stack Dodgers and Astros in single entry? Cheese.
Yeah, if you're fading Philly, those are the teams I'd do it with. Dodgers, Astros, for sure.
Excellent work with that. We've caught up on all the questions. We've given all the information. My wife is going to murder me because I'm late. So for Cheese, for Chief, and for Devin working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.